Welcome back to this special edition of the Listing Beast podcast. I'm Brendan Bardick, and what I've decided to do is I wanted to give as much value as possible, and so I have written a book called the $100,000 a month listing presentation. Instead of making you pay for it, instead of having to do, find it on Amazon, I said I'm going to drop this entire Audible book on our podcast for all of our listeners to have it for free. So, this is going to be the full recording of how to make $100,000 a month listing presentation. This is the same listing presentation I use to make over $100,000 a month every single month for years and years and years. It's filled with top agents, strategies, tips, the exact program. I'm talking in explicit detail from start to finish, how to make $100,000 a month with your listing presentation month over month. I hope you enjoy it. Let's jump in. Make sure you share a comment. Let me know your thoughts on it and have a lot of fun. Here we go. $100,000 a month listing presentation. Make sellers an offer they can't refuse. So this is dedicated to all the incredible real estate agents who wake up early, stay up late, and pour their hearts into every negotiation, transaction, and interaction. Your relentless drive, unwavering determination, and genuine care for every client inspires me daily. Thank you for continuously raising the bar and striving to provide the most exceptional real estate experience on earth. This book is for you. May it support and elevate your journey as you courageously build your dreams one day at a time. Chapter 1, Introduction. So welcome. If you're reading this book right now, there's a good chance you're hungry. No, scratch that. You're starving to take your real estate game to an entirely new level. You're here because you don't want to just dabble in listings. You want to absolutely dominate them. You're ready to make some serious money, create more freedom in your life, and build a thriving real estate business that runs like a perfectly tuned Ferrari. Now, before we dive in, let's clear something up right away. Mastering your listing presentation is the single most important skill you'll develop in real estate, period. End of story. No matter how good you think you are at prospecting, marketing, or negotiating, if you can't confidently nail your listing presentations, you're leaving a ton of money on the table. Money that should be yours. Now, I know what you're thinking. Brendan, I've tried everything. I've done all the trainings, read all the books, bought all the gadgets, and I'm still not closing listings consistently. Well, what gives? Well, here's the truth. Most agents are just winging it. They rely on charisma or their resume to win listings. But guess what? Charisma might get you in the door, but charisma alone won't get you signed contracts. You need a proven system, clear, repeatable steps that you can count on every single time, and that's exactly why you're here. You're about to learn a structured, systematic, no BS approach to listings that I've developed over decades in this industry, refining every detail, studying the best in the business, and yes, making plenty of mistakes along the way. Trust me, I've got the scars to prove it. Here's my promise to you. By the time you finish this book, you will have everything you need to confidently walk into any listing appointment and secure the agreement at the price and terms you deserve. You won't just be better at listing homes, you'll become unstoppable. So buckle up, get ready to laugh a little because life's too short to be boring, and prepare yourself to transform your real estate business forever. Chapter 2, Understanding Seller Psychology. All right, let's get real for a second. If you want to dominate listings, you absolutely must understand sellers. And I don't mean just knowing their favorite ice cream flavor or remembering their dog's name, though those little things help. I'm talking about truly getting inside their heads, understanding their biggest worries, their dreams, and what keeps them up at night. Here's the undeniable truth you need to burn into your brain. Every single seller you meet wants three things. First, they want to net the absolute most money possible for their home. Second, they want it sold yesterday or even sooner. And third, they want to experience as little hassle, stress, and drama as humanly possible. If you're thinking, yeah, Brendan, no kidding, then why do so many agents miss the mark? Well, here's why. Because they're too focused on themselves. They go into listings trying to impress sellers with their resumes, fancy brochures, or how great their Instagram looks. But guess what? Sellers don't care about your social media followers. They care about solutions. Let me tell you a quick story. A few years back, I worked with a seller named Jim. Jim was about as stressed as a cat in a room full of rocking chairs. His house had been on the market for months, and every week was filled with random, inconvenient showings. He dreaded each call from his agent, knowing it meant more strangers invading his personal space without any clear end in sight. Jim felt trapped, frustrated, and exhausted until we stepped in. By simply acknowledging Jim's concerns and clearly outlining a plan to address them, we transformed his selling experience. Within a week, we had multiple offers, and Jim finally felt like he could breathe again. So let's talk about what really matters to sellers, those annoying pain points. You know, the countless strangers trampling through their home, the endless staging and decluttering, the inconvenient open houses, buyers dictating terms, and those gut-wrenching inspection negotiations that seem to drag on forever. So imagine yourself in their shoes. Would you enjoy strangers wandering around your home, criticizing your decor choices? It's like having open heart surgery while everyone around you is casually munching on popcorn. It's invasive, uncomfortable, and downright stressful. Sellers dread this, yet they tolerate it because they think there's no better way. But here's your opportunity. This is your moment to swoop in like a superhero, cape optional, and solve these problems for them. Your goal? Reduce that friction, eliminate the hassle, and create a seamless, stress-free selling experience. Now, as best-selling author and marketing genius Seth Godin says, people do not buy goods and services, they buy relations, stories, and magic. Your real competition isn't other agents, it's the anxiety and uncertainty that sellers feel. Once you understand that, you will be unstoppable. You'll win not because of your charming smile or your glossy brochure, but because you clearly and confidently communicate how your approach solves the exact problems keeping your sellers awake at night. Chapter 3. Sell a program, not your resume. All right, here's the thing. If you're walking into a listing presentation trying to sell yourself based solely on your resume, how many homes you've sold, you're already setting yourself up for a harder battle. Sure, credentials matter, but let's be clear. Sellers don't buy your history, they buy your ability to solve their problems right now. Imagine you're at a restaurant. Do you actually care how long this chef studied in Paris, or do you care about how delicious the meal tastes? Exactly. Sellers are no different. They want to taste the results. So instead of showcasing yourself as the product, start presenting a clear, irresistible, and proven home selling program. Now, think of your program like it's the Netflix of real estate. Clear, reliable, and something sellers can't live without once they experience it. You're not just another agent hoping to win listings because of past success. You're the innovator offering a structured, predictable, results-driven approach that sellers desperately want. So here's a quick story to illustrate this. Sarah, an agent I coached, was struggling with her listing presentations. She'd walk in, list her credentials, and watch sellers nod politely, but they rarely signed on the dotted line. Sarah was frustrated until she shifted her approach. She stopped pitching herself and started pitching her unique home selling program, a structured, repeatable system called Sold in 65. Suddenly, the same sellers who were previously hesitant started eagerly signing with her. They weren't choosing Sarah's resume, they were choosing the clarity and reliability of her program. Marketing guru Alex Hormozi sums it up best when he says, "People don't buy products or services, they buy outcomes and transformations." Your sellers don't want another agent, they want the transformative result your structured program delivers. They crave certainty and clarity, not ambiguity or guesswork. So let's dig a little deeper into why this matters so much. When you sell yourself, your success hinges on subjective factors like personal chemistry, mood, or perceived experience. But when you sell a structured, proven program, you're selling objectivity, reliability, and measurable results. It shifts the conversation away from whether or not they personally like you and focuses instead on whether your solution is exactly what they need. Think about brands like Apple or Tesla. Do people buy from these brands just because of their charismatic leaders, Steve Jobs or Elon Musk? Not entirely. They buy because these companies consistently deliver innovative, predictable, and remarkable products that solve real problems and fulfill customer desires. Your real estate program should embody these same principles: innovation, predictability, and consistent excellence. Here's another perspective. Imagine you're going to a hairstylist. Would you rather hear them talk about all the celebrities they've styled in the past, or would you prefer they explain exactly how they will achieve the hairstyle you want right now? Again, sellers think similarly. They don't care about past accolades nearly as much as they care about your specific plan to meet their immediate needs. To make this shift effectively, start clearly defining your home selling program. You need to name it, brand it, and outline exactly what problems it solves and what outcomes it delivers. Clearly detail the process so that the seller instantly understands and trusts it. Doing so will position you as the expert, simplifies their decision-making process for your client, and significantly boosts your chance of closing the deal. So your mission moving forward is crystal clear. Build and confidently present a compelling program that clearly solves your seller's biggest pain points. Ditch the traditional resume, approach and embrace selling a powerful, structured solution instead. Chapter 4, the 4 key components. All right, let's get crystal clear on something. Dominating listings is not about luck, charisma, or even raw talent. It's about consistently executing a structured, proven system every single time. Imagine baking a cake. You can't just toss ingredients randomly into a bowl, pop it in the oven, and expect a delicious result. You need clear ingredients, precise measurements, and proper timing. Similarly, mastering your listing appointments requires clarity, structure, and precision. The 4 key components I'm about to share with you are exactly like the recipe for that perfect cake. Each step has a specific role, and together they form a cohesive system designed for consistent success. Mastering each one individually and then seamlessly combining them is the secret to winning listings and dramatically boosting your income. So let's quickly break down these components so you know exactly what to expect. Number 1, pre-appointment. This is your groundwork, your preparation. Think of it like warming up before a big game. It involves deeply researching your seller, their motivations, and the property itself. It's about setting the stage and crafting an irresistible pricing strategy tailored precisely to your seller's needs and market conditions. Without a solid pre-appointment process, you're essentially flying blind. Then we have number 2, at the appointment. Now, this is your moment to shine, your first impression. This step is about immediately establishing rapport, trust, and authority. And I do mean trust. Remember, it's not about impressing sellers with your past. It's about showing them exactly how you're going to solve their problems. Consider this as your opening act, engaging, professional, and compelling enough to make sellers eager for more. At the table, number 3. Here's where the magic happens. This is your main performance, the crucial conversation. You'll be clearly presenting your market analysis, confidently discussing pricing strategies, and articulating your value proposition. Think of this step like navigating a boat through rough seas. If done correctly, it's smooth sailing. But without clarity and structure, you're risking drifting off course. This component is all about confidently steering the conversation to achieve mutual agreement and set clear expectations. And then we move on to the big one, the close. The final step is about confidently securing the agreement, smoothly handling any objections, and leaving the appointment with clear next steps. Imagine a gymnast sticking a perfect landing. The close is your final decisive moment. This is where you move confidently and gracefully to secure the signatures, solidify your client relationship, and position yourself as a trusted advisor. So let me share with you a quick story to illustrate why having this structure matters so much. Mark, a talented agent I coached, initially believed that charm and charisma were enough for him to secure listings consistently. But after losing several key opportunities, he realized his approach was hit or miss. He adopted these 4 clear, structured steps and transformed his process. Suddenly, Mark wasn't relying on luck or personality alone. He had a clear roadmap. His confidence soared, and so did his success rate. Today, he secures more listings and more lucrative ones than ever before. Renowned leadership expert Simon Sinek famously said, "Consistency is more important than intensity." Your listing presentation isn't about flashy or intense. It's about consistency, clarity, and structured excellence. It's about delivering a predictable and outstanding experience every single time. So here's your mission. Embrace these 4 key components as your new standard. Learn them, practice them, and internalize them until they become second nature. Your listings and your income will reflect your newfound clarity and consistency. Pre-appointment, the foundation of success. So now we're going to go deep dive into each one of these principles. The objective of the pre-appointment phase is super clear. Set the stage for a successful outcome. This involves deeply understanding the seller, their motivations, and their property, so you can craft an irresistible pricing strategy. Remember, the homeowner signs the listing agreement, not the house. Now, what I mean by that is, again, think about this. The more you know about the seller, you know if they love a specific sports team, if they have a specific past history, maybe they are an accountant or a teacher. The seller signs the agreement, not the house. So I see agents all the time wasting all this time doing super detailed market analysis, 14, 15, 17,000 page agreements and doing all this fun stuff. That has nothing to do with it. You're mating with a person. You need to know everything about them. And when you know about them, your priority is to build trust and rapport with that seller, which is the true key to winning listings. Many agents mistakenly focus excessively on complicated market analysis and extensive detail. While market data matters, the critical factor in securing a listing is the connection and trust you establish with the homeowner. Now, it's common to see the new agents win listings over seasoned professionals simply because they were better at creating a personal connection. Sellers frequently choose agents because they felt more comfortable with them, meaning they trusted that agent more. Now, the essential tool that is going to help you do this is what we call the seller profile. It's your fundamental pre-appointment document designed to help you build rapport and gather essential information. It's a concise, double-sided form intended to streamline your listing preparation process, ensuring you're equipped with critical insights into your client's circumstances and their home. Now, we're going to provide this. You'll be able to have this document. You'll be able to utilize it, but you have to practice it to really make sure that you can internalize it so it feels natural. So here's what your seller profile will help you achieve. It's going to help you understand the seller's story. Why are they selling? What experiences have they had in the past when buying or selling? Knowing their motivation enables you to tailor your approach precisely. Then we're going to identify special features and what I like to call hidden gems. Every single property has unique attributes or community aspects that appeal to potential buyers. Discovering these allows you to position their home distinctively in the market. Next, you have to determine personality types. At the bottom of your profile, you'll categorize your sellers as either a tiger, dolphin, or a turtle personality style. This helps you personalize your presentation style to best resonate with your clients. For example, an assertive tiger personality will require a different approach compared to a cautious turtle. Now, if you think about this, every single person you're working with, whether it's the DISC profile or any type of personality profile, every single person reacts differently to you. So if you show up trying to just be yourself and you happen to be a turtle personality and you're talking to a tiger, you're not going to be able to shift gears to them. They want this to be quick, fast, informative. Every second you're there, you're wasting time. So you need to start thinking about in your presentation, Who am I meeting with? And that seller profile helps extract those personality styles. Now, if you're a dolphin, and dolphins are one of my favorite people on earth, everybody loves a dolphin. They're fun, they're informative. They love to talk about the kids, the parks, they want to be friends. They want to fall in love with you. They want to leave there with again, you guys toasting a glass of wine at the end of the presentation. When you're dealing with a dolphin, you have to be very clear that if you try to overload them with data, meaning a 300-page market analysis and this graph and that chart, you're not connecting with them. And if you're not connecting with them, you're not building trust. You're not building rapport, and you're going to leave and they're going to go, you know what? I just didn't quite fit with that person. So the true masters of listing presentations have the ability to shift gears and go, am I talking to a turtle? Then I need to go into turtle mode. Now, when you're working with a turtle, we're talking about someone that cares about all of the details. They're going to be cautious. They're going to be a little bit, not to say slower like a turtle actually, but they're going to be less ready to go boom, 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 let's get this done. They're going to want to know safety concerns and the contract details. So just make sure that you understand, who am I talking to and what do they care about? And I need to design my presentation around that. And I need to act and mimic and rhythm that to make sure that they feel that I feel the same way towards them. When you do that, you hear this all the time. You know what, Brendan, I just felt like you were a great fit. Well, it's not because they thought that I was a great fit. If I happen to be a tiger and they're a turtle, I'm shifting gears. I'm downshifting or upshifting to go, this is how I need to communicate with this person so that they understand the information that I'm presenting. This isn't a gimmick or some sort of trick. This is just simply communication. Remember, we get paid an exorbitant amount of money to communicate. Well, some of us do. If you do this right, you get paid an exorbitant amount of money. If you don't, and you go in and you go, this is who I am. My mom told me I was great, so this is who I am. And either you like me or not, you're going to leave a lot of money on the table. So this personality piece is so critical to the entire process. And the more that you practice this, and there's neurolinguistic programming, there's so many different things that you can learn about this craft to make sure that you deeply understand why this is so important. But it takes practice. It takes reps. You got to make sure that you're doing this on a regular basis. So when you're in your role play, if you are role playing, and I certainly hope you are, and we're going to talk about that, when you're practicing your presentation, you need to practice it with different personality styles in mind. So when you're there with that real person, you know exactly how to make them feel special. All right, so let's move on. Understand the pricing expectations, right? So we're going to be asking the seller's perception of their home with home's worth, with giving insights into their mindset and potential pricing negotiations. So practice completing seller profiles to the point where the questions become second nature, allowing you to interact naturally and confidently with clients. Rather than robotically reading questions off the page, you need to aim to integrate with them into a conversational flow. The seller profile serves as your guide to smoothly obtaining crucial information while maintaining general rapport. To put these concepts into action, download and print multiple seller profiles, one for each listing you intend to secure each month. So think about this. If your goal is to take 10 listings a month, then you need to have your seller profiles printed and available on your desk. And then all you need to know is that I have to complete these and make sure I fill these out. When I fill these out and talk to this many people on appointments, I'm going to hit my goal. It's one of the smartest and most strategic things you can do as a listing agent. Then role play completing these profiles as if you're engaging in genuine conversations with prospective sellers. This practice helps embed the skills necessary to consistently win listings. By thoroughly preparing using this structured approach, you'll transform your listing presentations, build lasting client relationships, and significantly elevate your real estate success. Now, we're moving into the second component of your pre-appointment preparation process. This one is huge, your pricing strategy. This section will explore how to thoroughly research the seller, craft a compelling pricing approach, and develop a powerful comparative market analysis, a CMA, to build trust, confidence, and ultimately secure listings. So let's talk about understanding the pricing strategy. Before we dive deeper, let's clarify a fundamental concept. There are only two main factors that cause a home to sell: price and time. Think about it. Given enough time, any home will eventually sell, regardless of price. For instance, if you price a home at $500,000, but the market value is closer to $400,000, it might take several years for the market to catch up to that $500,000 amount. However, waiting years isn't practical or desirable. Conversely, any property, even one in extremely poor condition, and I've sold every type of home. I'm talking crack houses, meth houses, houses with snakes and dogs, and you name it. I mean, anything you can randomly think about, I have sold. No matter how unattractive or issues with the home, if it is priced at a price that'll cause it to sell, that home will sell. It'll sell quickly if it's priced attractively enough. So imagine a $400,000 market value home that's run down and severely distressed. If you list that home at $250,000, buyers will line up immediately. The takeaway here is clear. Pricing correctly ensures timely sales. Our role as a professional real estate agent is to strategically manage both price and time, maximizing convenience and results for our sellers. Now let's move on to building your pricing strategy. To effectively prepare for your appointment, start by gathering comprehensive data to support your pricing recommendation. This evidence will help the seller make an educated decision, maximizing both the speed and profitability of their sale. Now, think of yourself as the attorney presenting evidence in a court. Your seller is the jury, and your job is to convince them with compelling data. That's how you're going to win the case, right? Remember, if the glove doesn't fit, that's right, you have to acquit. So the more data that we provide and the better we are at providing that evidence, aka data, the more likely that the seller is going to come to a natural understanding of what that pricing strategy should be, so that they price it strategically so that it'll cause the home to sell, instead of you taking an overpriced listing and then having to have these terrible pricing conversations. That's what I'm trying to help you avoid. So the better you are at preparing and presenting data, the more success you're going to have. All right, so step one in doing this process, as we start preparing our case, if you will, is we have to research the seller. Before analyzing comparables, your first task is to research the seller. Use platforms like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, now called X or whatever it's called these days, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Google, anything you can find on this person. There's a lot of information online to see who they are. This research reveals critical insights into their lifestyle, interests, and preferences, allowing you to build rapport and establish trust during your appointment. For example, if you discover the seller loves surfing, you might naturally highlight the property's proximity to the beach, subtly aligning your comments with their interests. This personalized approach significantly strengthens your connection and credibility. Step two, now you know everything about the person that you're going to meet. Now we get to dive in and start researching the property. So next we want to assess the property thoroughly. We want to start by understanding what the seller believes their home is worth. Now, we know that they're going to be influenced by popular valuation websites like Zillow, Redfin, and Realtor.com. Remember, your goal isn't to match these valuations, it's to understand the seller's perspective and prepare an informed response if discrepancies arise. So think about this. The first thing a seller sees all the time is their Zillow estimate, or what it says that their home is worth on Redfin or Realtor.com or any of these algorithms that are on the websites. That doesn't mean we agree with it, but that's what their perception has been telling them over and over again. So as we go into the appointment, we need to prepare our data and make sure that we already understand that if it isn't in alignment with what's going to cause the home to sell, and we're going to talk about how to create a powerful pricing strategy coming up, then we already know what their objections are going to be. And now we can make sure that we position our case, right, in air quotations, to properly be able to objection block these concerns so that we can move forward to pricing it accurately so that they can help them cause the home to sell for the most money possible in the shortest amount of time. So additionally, we need to perform a comprehensive analysis using Google Street View, aerial images, and public records. Consider the proximity to schools, power lines, or other significant neighborhood features. This meticulous research will help identify factors that might enhance or detract from the property's market value. Then we move on to step 3, evaluating pricing impacts. And I want to tell you right now, this one is huge. Different properties have unique characteristics impacting their value, such as mountain properties, busy streets, golf course communities, beachfront locations. For instance, a mountain home's value might significantly differ based on driveway accessibility orientation, while condos and high rises could have drastically varying pricing depending on views or floor level. Now, this always reminds me of a very great story. An example of this was here in Denver, Colorado. The identical luxury condo that sold on the high rise of the Four Seasons building, it varied by $5 million in value solely based on their views. That means that the penthouse that faced western, facing the beautiful mountains and had these unbelievable sunsets, priced $5 million different than the home that faced to the east that did not have these views. Same square footage, same everything. So you have to make sure that you're considering all of these factors in your pricing strategy. Now, there's a lot of AI that can help us with this. There's a lot of different things that we teach in our Listing Beast program that can help you understand how to do this at a at a much easier level. But you still need to understand the basic concept that all of these factors are going to weigh in, and your seller is going to heavily consider them when deciding what to price the property at. So understanding and articulating these differences clearly to the seller demonstrates your expertise and supports your pricing recommendations. Then we move on to step 4. You have to understand the goal of a comparative market analysis. Your CMA is not an appraisal. While an appraisal aims to precisely determine a property's value for lenders, a CMA is your professional assessment of what buyers are likely to pay in the current market. The CMA primary purpose is to establish an initial asking price designed to attract maximum interest. Let me say that one more time. Your CMA's primary purpose is to establish an initial asking price designed to attract maximum interest, driving up the final sales price through competitive buyer activity. Then we get into pricing mindset, which is critical for success. To underscore the importance of precise pricing, imagine the urgency if the property had to sell within 24 hours, or something or someone very dear to you, such as a beloved pet, was at stake. Now, I tell this story and people laugh about it all the time. If you're really thinking about this, I hear agents walking around my office going, well, what do you think? Do you think they can get this much? Maybe we could go to this far. I mean, the comps say 500, but I'm thinking there's other comp that's way out here that maybe could get it to 525 or $1.2 million or whatever the number is that you're dealing with. And they try to convince themselves that they can get it higher and higher. So when they meet with that seller will go, oh my gosh, I want to list with them because they found some secret on getting me the highest price possible. That's where we make our biggest mistake. What I want you to think about is if your favorite pet, let's talk about a pet that you absolutely love or a family member, and somebody had kidnapped them, tied them up, and you had 24 hours to get this home sold, or unfortunately, they were going to take this person out. That's how serious I want you to think about 24-hour pricing. If you don't truly believe that the home is going to sell in 24 hours, or your little cute dog, we had a seminar and one of the people in the group was joking about this, and I was like, "What's your dog's name?" And he goes, "Taco." And I go, "Well, what if you were having Taco and Taco was going to get taken out if this home didn't sell in 24 hours? How would you approach the pricing differently?" And so, cute name for a dog. I love that name, Taco. But we don't want Taco to get taken out. We want to make sure that we come into that with same intensity of going, if we don't price this with that kind of seriousness, we're letting the sellers down. They're going to be disappointed at us. And we can't hope and pray that there's going to be a pricing strategy that maybe will work. When we price the property accurately, we're going to cause buyer demand. And remember this one statement, if you remember nothing else: buyers set the market value for the home, not me or the seller, not you or the seller. So when pricing homes, agents often mistakenly price optimistically, hoping the market will catch up. This strategy can lead to long market times, seller frustration, and ultimately failed relationships. I've never met one single seller once in my entire life that goes, you know what? I want to put the home on the market, Brendan, and I want to be on the market for 3 to 6 months, and I want to have 50 to 60 people come trampling through my home, which we have to be disturbed the entire time. I want to reduce the price at least 3 to 6 times, and then eventually sell and be disappointed in you and finally get to the closing table feeling frustrated. I don't know about you, but that's never happened to me in my career. So, understanding the two essential factors of home sales, price and time, is the key to success. Preparing persuasive evidence through careful research and data collection, personalizing your approach by deeply researching the seller, not only the property, and conducting thorough property evaluations, clearly articulating price impacts based on property-specific features, and approaching the CMA as a strategic tool, not an appraisal, maintaining a decisive, results-focused, 24-hour pricing mindset. So, let's jump into the CMA. Now, it's time to dive into creating the most powerful comparative market analysis on earth, a detailed and comprehensive tool designed specifically to provide potential sellers with clarity on how to accurately price their property. This approach ensures they set an optimal initial asking price. Now, notice what I said there, initial asking price, not final sales price, not list price. Anytime you're talking to a seller, I want to burn this into your brain, initial asking price. That's all we can ever set is we're setting an initial asking price that is going to go up if we set it correctly, and unfortunately is going to go down if we don't. Now, when we do this, we're going to help them secure the highest possible offer in the shortest amount of time with minimal friction and stress. So over the past 22 years, I've meticulously studied the systems of top producing agents nationwide. From this research and hands-on experience, I've identified 6 essential sections that every effective CMA should include. These components help sellers clearly see the data, enabling them to make informed, confident decisions. So let's jump into the 6 essential sections of a powerful comparative market analysis. Number 1 is the buyer attraction pyramid. Now, the buyer attraction pyramid is a crucial, and I do mean crucial tool that you're going to use that as a top listing agent. Now, we're going to give you all the downloads for everything in this. It's all in our program, but it's a visual that demonstrates the relationships between the asking price and the percentage of potential buyers that are attracted at that specific market value and asking price. So at the base of the pyramid, lower prices draw the lowest or largest buyer pool. So think about this. You have a pyramid. So think in your mind of just a big triangle, right? At the bottom, if we price below market value, we attract the most buyers to the property. When we move into the middle section, we get that middle pool. And when we price at the very tip of the market, we get a very small percentage of buyers that might be interested in the property. So, for instance, if a home is priced 15% above market value, only about 10% of buyers might show interest, significantly limiting potential offers. Clearly explaining this to sellers helps them grasp the importance of strategic pricing. Now, number 2, now that we've got the buyer, we understand how to deliver the buyer pyramid, we want to jump into the public record report. Now, I know we have people listening all over the world, all over the country. This is that 1 page or 2 pages from the tax records that is the details of all of the home's details. So the public report includes essential details like above ground square footage, finished square footage, the number of bedrooms and bathrooms, lot size, easements, and previous sales data and price. Highlighting these key data points provides clarity and authority when you're meeting with the seller. Some agents prefer tools like Cloud CMA, which offers polished presentations. And I have nothing against Cloud CMA. However, I strongly advocate for using direct MLS data as it conveys authenticity accuracy, and professional credibility. I'm not sitting there trying to give my seller some sort of range or this pretty beautiful thing. I want them to go, you're the insider. Give me the inside data. You obviously have access to things I don't have access to. And I sometimes watch agents try to make these beautiful presentations that look like a PowerPoint in their CMA that takes away that you have this inside data. That's what they're hiring for. You're the real estate agent. Use the data and make yourself look like that insider professional. So next up, we've got step number 3, the aerial map. Incorporating an aerial map of their neighborhood helps sellers visualize the exact location and proximity of active, pendings, and recently closed comparable properties. And this clear bird's eye view emphasizes the impact of location, lot size, and neighborhood characteristics on property valuation. It also supports informed discussions on why certain properties may or may not be ideal comparables. Now, when we think about the aerial, all I want you to think about is we want them to focus on apples to apples, not apples to oranges. So we know that a neighborhood can change in price by $300,000, $400,000 just based on a road or a community. This aerial map is going to show them where their property is. And when they go, well, what about that other one that sold for XYZ? And you can easily show them, go, well, that was an XYZ community. In XYZ community, the average price per square foot is this. In your community, the average price per square foot is this because you don't have whatever it might be, a golf course, a pool, this, that, a gate, newer homes, older homes, different home styles. So the aerial map is your again, remember, we're proving a case here with the seller. It's your ability to go, okay, look, Mr. Seller, or judge or jury, here's exactly what we're talking about. Do you understand this? But you're doing it without sounding like you're trying to be confrontive. You're just being informational this entire time. So now we get into step number 4, the comparable property report. Now we're going to start choosing our comps for the property. So when you do this, you need to focus on sales within the last 6 months. Critical because appraisers typically rely on recent data within that same time frame. So while occasionally looking slightly further back, 7, 8 months for context or to address sellers' expectations, your primary emphasis must remain on the last or the latest 6 months sales data to ensure accurate and realistic valuations. Evaluate comparables based on key criteria. Year built. Properties built around the same time frame are most relevant. Square footage. Focus primarily on above ground finished areas. And the reason I say above ground is when we focus on above ground, different areas, houses and different types, and again, we have people listening all over the world. When you try to make sure that you're focusing on the similar comparables, everybody can finish their basement at a different level. Some people can do it themselves. They got the DIY, they did all of this. So you're trying to make sure that we understand, again, apples to apples, not apples to oranges, and certainly not apples to oranges to broccoli. Okay, so the more that we can make this simple process logical to them, the easier it's going to be for them to agree with you where the pricing needs to be, so it'll sell and you will have a happy seller. Next, we move on to lot size and location. Now, there's another big piece here in lot size and location. Consider factors like views, proximity to buses, roads, communities, pools, tennis courts. And then, of course, we have property type. We want to ensure that comparables match the type. So if you have a ranch, you want to try to find as many ranch comparables if possible. Now, let me preface this for a second. I've watched so many agents get so out of their mind about trying to do an appraisal. Remember, market analysis is based on demand. A appraisal is trying to go, is this garage going to get you $5,000 more on an appraisal than one that had no garage? We're not trying to do that. We're trying to go, look, based on the eyes of a buyer, this is how your property is positioned. If the buyer had $500,000 to spend in your market right now, these are their choices. This is what they've decided in the past. Pendings, this is what they currently are deciding on, and that's all we're looking at. Do not get caught up in this craziness of trying to go, well, how much do you factor in for a pool? I watch appraisers teach classes to real estate agents, and I love appraisers. I think they're fantastic, but we're not trying to give an appraisal of the property. We're trying to create the market value that'll create a frenzy to get buyers to come so that they drive the price up to get the highest price possible. Okay, so that would want to drive that home. This structure reinforces your pricing recommendations and clearly illustrates the market realities. And then next, we have what we call the photo one-pager. Now, the reason when you have your market analysis, you want to have a photo one-pager of the comps is so that as you're flipping through this, you can easily show the client, right, the differences and assess the finishes, layouts, and overall condition relative to their property. Now, when you're including comprehensive photos from the MLS listings, it's optional to make sure that you can go with way more detail. If you feel that you need to have the 30-page report of pictures or all this, we're just trying to give a summary to go, look, this one had wood floors, this one was remodeled, this one had this one had this view, yours has this, yours has that. It's just with the better visuals that you have, it's easier for the seller to understand the differences between the properties that have recently sold under contract or that are currently active competing for a buyer against them. And then next we move on to number 6, which is my favorite report by far. Now, no matter what market you're in, number 6, you should have a single line stat page. This comprehensive data summary encapsulates all the comparables into a single organized format. It includes critical statistics like average list price, price per square foot, days on market, and the sold to list price ratio, removing emotional biases and grounding the pricing discussion in hard data. Now, when presenting, use this summary to guide the seller toward an informed pricing decision. If a seller's suggested price seems unrealistic, use the summary to clearly demonstrate discrepancies, referencing price per square foot, recent sale prices, and market activity to bring clarity and realism to the conversation. So I know that was a lot, but think about it like this. Just calm down and take a breath for a moment. My CMA is designed to tell a story. That's all it's designed to do. It's designed to tell a story of going, again, if we were to price your property today based on all of these facts that we can see here, based on all of our information, that for it to sell, and you're not going to tell the seller this to sell in 24 hours, but for it to sell and to create a buyer frenzy, and we're going to talk a lot about why buyer frenzy is so important, this is where we need to be positioned. Not this is where our sales price is. This is not where we're going to end up closing. I hear sellers all the time go, you know what, Brendan, what you had told me was, or excuse me, not what you told me. They go, Brendan, when we were discussing you wanted to list the price at $500,000 and now it hasn't sold. And so now you're telling me I need to adjust it to $475,000. And I always remind the seller and I go, you know what, Susie, John, I didn't tell you that the property should sell at $500,000. I said, based on the current market conditions, and you agreed that the buyers, based on the recent sales, that the market value of this property was at this amount. Unfortunately, the buyers haven't responded to that amount, so now we need to do an adjustment. And that's a whole nother section that we'll talk about. But we're never saying, this is what I think, it's what the data is telling us. So now we move on to one of my favorite tools, which you also have, we provide to you, is our time on market graph. Now, this powerful supplementary tool, this graph visually reinforces the cost of overpricing. It clearly shows the seller how homes priced correctly sell within the first 7 days or above asking price, whereas overpricing leads to steep declines in sales price percentage over time, often resulting in significant financial losses. Now, the reason this is so important is you get sellers all the time that go, you know what, Brendan, we've got all the time in the world. We don't need, we're here for the long haul. If we get our price, we'll sell. If we don't, well, that's not true. The statistics clearly show, and when you see how to put together this time on market graph, that the longer we're on the market, the less likelihood that we're ever going to get near our original sales price. And in fact, it damages the seller because they become what we call stale potatoes. And if you've ever eaten a stale potato, it's disgusting. And I say that to sellers all the time. So every day we're on the market, we become what we call a depreciating asset. And this graph clearly shows with statistical data, and I'm going to give you the exact model of how to put this together in any market. When you're looking at this and you go, look, and in your market, the average list price to sales price ratio, when you list it at market value, you're going to get your list price to sales price ratio within the first 7 days. If you do not get close to that number, then every week we're on the market, it usually drops by 3 to 5% week after week. And now in different markets, it varies, and you can pull this data. I'm going to give you the template on how to do that. And AI's made that a lot easier. But when we are able to show them that data, it obliterates that objection of them going, well, we're just going to see what happens. You know what, Brendan, all we need is the right buyer to walk in. Well, we can't gamble your success on the right buyer walking through that door. So remember, the primary goal of your comparative market analysis is to present clear, concise, and actionable information, enabling sellers to confidently set a realistic and strategic initial asking price. Practice consistently by preparing at least one CMA daily for various contexts, family, friends, expired listings, to rapidly build expertise. The top performing agents in the country consistently outperform by refining their market analysis skills through repetition and practice. Embrace and integrate these 6 essential sections into your CMA preparation. If your current method differs, remain open to improvement. Many agents find significant benefit in adopting or creating this proven system. Ultimately, your goal is efficiency, credibility, and ease of understanding for your client, ensuring a smoother and more enjoyable transaction, fewer objections, and of course, more satisfied sellers. By mastering this powerful CMA system, you'll position yourself not only as an expert agent, but as a trusted advisor, capable of delivering superior results consistently. And then number 4 in our pre-appointment process is you need to always have what we call a pre-appointment checklist, your PAC. So think about this visual like a backpack. Before you ever leave to go on the appointment, we have a checklist that I'm going to provide to you that you can run down all of these steps, right? Every single step so that you're prepared and you don't miss anything. Remember, repetition. This is what it's all about. You wouldn't get into an airplane and have the pilot go, you know what? I'm just going to turn this thing on and take off and see what happens. No, before they ever leave the runway, they go through a detailed checklist every single time for not only safety, but for efficiency. So now that we've crafted the most powerful CMA on earth, our next step is assembling everything seamlessly to prepare for the most powerful listing appointment imaginable. The goal here is clear. We're gearing up for an elite, highly professional interaction with our clients, designed to confidently secure the listing agreement and position ourselves as experts. So let's discuss in detail the crucial decisions you'll need to make regarding how to package your CMA. Now, this is an important part of your overall listing presentation. Here we focus specifically on the CMA aspect, while acknowledging there's a broader comprehensive package including other market material like your presentation folder and additional supporting documents, digital versus printed presentation. Your first major decision that you're going to have to decide on is, are you going to do digital or a printed presentation format? When I say digital, laptop, iPad, whatever it is, the latest technology. When you use a digital presentation, many top agents nationwide prefer digital presentations displayed on their tablet or laptop. This approach has clear advantages if you're exceptionally, let me say that again, if you're exceptionally comfortable with the tech, you're deeply familiar with your local market, and confident navigating digital tools. It eliminates printing costs and the need for trips back to the office. However, digital presentations carry potential risks such as Wi-Fi connectivity issues, technical glitches, and device malfunctions. It's essential to assess your comfort level honestly before choosing either of these paths. Now, when you think about a presented presentation, if you find yourself less comfortable with digital tools or you're less experienced in your market, a printed presentation is highly recommended. With printed materials, you can physically interact, drawing and annotating and clearly communicating your points without relying on technology. Remember, you can have this right in front of them. You can write on it. You can circle it. You can put a smiley face, a frowny face. You can draw an arrow. And I'm not saying you can't do that with an iPad, but you got to be really skilled to do that. So it creates a tactical and engaging experience for clients and reduces technical uncertainties. Some agents even opt for mini projectors to display their presentation directly onto a wall, enhancing their professional presence using tools like laser pointers. Whatever your preferred method, thorough practice and comfort with your chosen method are vital. If you're starting out or prefer simplicity, opt for professionally bound paper presentation, either through a binding machine for a polished look or a slim 3-ring binder with a customized cover page. This presentation serves as both a visual aid during your appointment and a valuable takeaway for the client. So, essential pre-appointment checklist. Now we're about to get ready to go and have an appointment. And why this is so serious, you might be going, Brennan, you're neurotic about this. I want you to have a mindset that every listing appointment that you go on could lead to 6, 7, 10 more pieces of business over the course of your career. So I always think about every listing appointment as if it's worth $1 million over the course of my career. Now, it doesn't always work out that way. This seller might sell and you'll never ever see them again. They'll never send you a referral. But I've had so many clients that I have met that have done multiple repeat business with me, referred their friends, their family, their sons, their cousins, their coworkers, all of this. So you have to take it this serious if you really want to be the top elite listing agents in the country. So that's why before you leave for this appointment, having a pre-appointment checklist is so critical. This ensures that you're impeccably prepared and professional. So let's detail each critical item. Number 1, complete the seller profile. Remember, we ensured that we're going to detail the seller profile. This is the phone call that you've captured all this information, all the critical insights about your client's needs and personality types. Carry this profile in your Padfolio to effectively build rapport during your meeting. Number 2, you need to have your seller and your property research. Remember, the seller can only sign the agreement, not the house itself. So your seller and property research. Perform thorough research on both the seller and the property to demonstrate your expertise and that you are completely prepared. Number 3, your appointment confirmation. This is critical. Have someone other than yourself, ideally your assistant. If you don't have an assistant, your significant other. If you don't have a significant other, a trusted colleague, or I don't care, anyone on earth, call and confirm the appointment. This subtly positions you as a professional. So for example, hey, Susie and John, this is Catherine from Brendan's office. Brendan asked me to confirm he'll be at your home Saturday at 2 p.m. Does that still work for you? Great. He's looking forward to meeting you both. Have a wonderful day. Professional appointment confirmations echo the practice of other high-level professionals like doctors and dentists, reinforcing your credibility. Now, if you just called up and said, hey, I just want to confirm that we're on for tomorrow, they're going, oh, great, this is a one mom and pop shop that I'm dealing with. So I'm not trying to tell you to do things that put you in the gray area. I'm going, perception is reality. Your significant other is your assistant. Your colleague can help you out. But everything that we portray to the seller is going to position us in their eyes to either decide if we're a professional or we're just somebody winging it. Next up, we need to make sure that we have our detailed market analysis. So verify your CMA is comprehensive, accurate, and professionally packaged. All this is in the checklist we're going to provide you. Number 5, this is a big one, a pocket calculator. Now, you might be asking yourself, a pocket calculator, what the heck do I need a pocket calculator for? You want to bring a standalone pocket calculator to handle net sheet calculations, price per square foot assessments professionally. Avoid using your smartphone as it distracts you from professionalism doing incoming texts, calls, and notifications. And I'll be honest, I've seen some of your cell phones. I mean, we've got different covers, we've got different styles, some of them are cracked. You can get a pocket calculator for $5.99 on Amazon that sticks in your purse, your jacket, your pocket. So when you get to this important part, which we're going to talk about, one of the key components of a listing presentation is providing an estimated net sheet. You want to make sure that you can deliver that information like a professional. Number 6, don't leave without a lockbox. I've seen agents that go and take listings and then they forgot that they don't have a lockbox, whether this is a digital kind, depending on where you're at, one that you buy from Home Depot, whatever it is. That lockbox is you marking your territory after you've taken this listing and you're snapping that on there and you have that key in there and you're good to go. Sometimes you leave this listing appointment and they might be interviewing 1, 2, 3, 5 different agents. You think you have a signed agreement. They meet with someone else and they decide to call you up and tear up that agreement. All of this is psychology. We need to mark our territory and make sure that we always have a lockbox. Here's a pro tip. however many listings that you plan on taking per month, and I hope it's 10 or more after you listen to this, right? That's how you're going to have $100,000 a month, well, depending on your average sales price. Have that mini lockbox always available in your trunk of your car, in your car somewhere. Number 7, printed directions. Even though we have technological advancements, always carry printed directions to avoid potential GPS failures, road closures, unexpected barriers. There's different gates. There's all kinds of different things that can catch you off guard. New construction. We want to make sure that you arrive promptly and you maintain your credibility. So you're going to new areas that you've never been. Your GPS or your phone can fail you. So make sure you have a backup. Number 8, presentation format. Ensure your digital PowerPoint presentation is downloaded if you're going digital, or your Canva, and ready on your device, or verify your printed CMA presentation is prepared and organized for immediate use. Checklist mindset. I want you to be that pilot, have that pilot precision. Approach your checklist with the precision of an airline pilot performing a pre-flight check. Just as pilots methodically verify safety protocols to protect passengers, your pre-appointment checklist safeguards your professional reputation and your client's experience, confirming every step ensures nothing is overlooked.
Have you ever seen the movie The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith?
So let's summarize and put this all together.
Scene where Chris Gardner, played by Will Smith, walks into the most important interview of his life, wearing paint-splattered clothes after spending a night in jail. Everything was stacked against him, yet he nailed it. How? By being authentic, determined, and clearly showing his value. Think of your listing appointment just like Chris Gardner in that pivotal interview in the movie. It's your moment to make a lasting impression. This isn't about simply being good enough. It's about being prepared, confident, and demonstrating your undeniable value clearly and authentically. In today's competitive real estate environment, homeowners are interviewing multiple agents. They often hear similar pitches about experience and great service, but the agent who makes the biggest impact is the one who clearly communicates their unique value and confidently connects with the homeowner. Your next listing appointment can be your Chris Gardner moment. It's the opportunity to showcase your preparation, your passion, and clarity in such a way that it changes your career trajectory forever. All right, my real estate rock stars, buckle up, because we're diving headfirst into the second essential component of creating the most powerful, successful, and downright unbeatable listing appointment on earth. Yes, on earth. Not just your neighborhood or your city. This is global level greatness we're talking about. So you've crushed the pre-appointment stage. Your market analysis is complete. You've thoroughly researched the seller and the property. You've nailed your seller profile, packed your checklist, and now you're hopping into your vehicle ready to roll. But hold your horses. The actual appointment itself is not something you want to rush into. Believe me, many agents overlook this part and just zoom straight to the client's door, hoping that charisma alone will seal the deal. Spoiler alert, that's not enough. Every single component in this process is crucial to your success. Not just the easy layups like Cousin Joey or your sister who'd list with you even if you showed up barefoot, though I wouldn't recommend it. Today, I'm talking about consistently winning cold business. That way, when you have the warm business, it's that much easier and you get your value that much more confidently. So here's what we're going to be talking about. Let's dive into the critical steps for the at the appointment section. So to start off, we always start out with game day excellence. All right, so now we get to jump into the second component of our 4 key components for having the most powerful and successful listing appointment on earth. That's what we're going to do, is create listing appointment greatness. Now remember, you've already completed your pre-appointment work. We've done your analysis. You've researched the seller, the property. All of those things are now complete. Now we're going to jump into what we call at the appointment. And it's actually one of the most overlooked sections because we typically just run out of the office. We want to just try to get to the door as quickly as possible. But listen, if we don't handle this sequence very intelligently, you could lose the entire deal. Let me emphasize something critical. Each of these components are equally important. There's not one more important than the other 3. All four are vital if you want the highest conversion rate possible. So let's dive into this. So first, now we're at the appointment. We're sitting there, we're ready to get in our car, and that's what we call this section. I know it sounds a little interesting. You're going, well, what do you mean at the appointment? It just means that we've done our pre-game prep setup, and now we're going to get into kind of thinking about like we're just about to go out into this game. We're ready to get into the game. So we've got our headphones on. We don't really, but I'm just saying, like think about you're in that locker room when you're about to run out and you're about to have the biggest game of your life. That's how I want you to take this level of seriousness. That's how I want everyone to feel about this when you're getting into this mindset, instead of, oh, I've got to go meet with this seller and I'm a little bit nervous and I'm so busy and I don't even know if they're really serious. Your attitude through this entire process is everything. So let's start with pre-game warm-up, preparing mentally and scouting the area. We're going to talk about instant trust building, techniques for rapid rapport, delivering the promise, which is a powerful strategy ensuring that you get referrals and 5-star reviews. We're going to go over objection blocking, cutting off objections before they arise, viewing the home with purpose, a specific strategy before sitting down at the kitchen table or any area in the property where you can actually have your presentation if the home is vacant. And your end goal is leaving with the key securely in a lockbox or however it works in your particular area. Pre-game warm-up, your 30-minute advantage. I want you to arrive in any neighborhood that you're about to go on a listing appointment on at minimum 30 minutes early. Why? Because none of us can possibly be neighborhood experts in every area. Sure, some of you are familiar with specific neighborhoods, but wouldn't it be great to comfortably take business anywhere? Exactly. Here's what I want you looking for in those 30 minutes. So we're going to get to the area early. We're going to be looking for local schools, grocery stores, hiking trails, nearby lakes, landmarks and amenities. What we want to be thinking about here is I want you to notice these things so when you talk with your client or your future client, you can go, oh my gosh, John, it must be so convenient living near XYZ hiking trail or such and such coffee shop or Cimarron Elementary School or whatever it might be, so that you can start to have that bond with them of going, look, I prepared, I did my homework, I know this area, I've scouted it out. Now, you can also try to do this digitally, but there's something about getting there early and knowing these neighborhoods, and this is going to help you long-term in your career anyway. The more that you get neighborhood experience, the more that you're going to have that in your reserves for when you need it for the next appointment. So you're also going to be looking for active listings you might have missed in your comparative market analysis. Believe me, this has happened to me. I thought I had all the comps, and then all of a sudden, oops, either me or one of my administrative assistants didn't have the comp in there, and I don't want to show up and get surprised when I'm on the appointment. I'm going to be looking for coming soon signs because sometimes the neighbor 2 doors down could have just put the coming soon sign up. That's a pretty big piece of information that we're going to want to know, or the house on the street behind them did. So we want to really scout this area so we have all of the information. Information and data is power in this situation. We're going to be looking for sale by owner signs. You know, some of these for sale by owners might be popping up, and they could have a neighbor that's competing against them for the sale, and it doesn't show in the MLS or it wasn't listed somewhere. So all of this is extremely important for us to have all of the correct data to make these critical last second decisions on what we need to do next. I've personally had times when, again, I have missed certain things, showed up, and if it wasn't for that pre-appointment prep, I would have been caught off guard. Now, remember, if you are not in a neighborhood and you're the condo and high-rise expert, or you're maybe not an expert, but you're having a condo high-rise appointment, working with condos or high-rise buildings, it's slightly a different game, but the same principles apply. Do extensive research on amenities, pools, rooftops, decks, laundry rooms, concierge services, gated parking, deeded parking. Make calls and ask around. Do whatever it takes to sound like you've lived in that building for years. If you're in a golf course community, maybe that's where the comp is. Call the pro shop. Find out who designed the golf course if you can't find it online. Talk to them about the membership. It must be so challenging playing XYZ's courses design. When you say something like that to a seller, that builds instant credibility. Now, We've researched everything. We've shown up in the area early. We know what we're looking at. Now we're going to be talking about parking and presentation. Here's the secret. You need to make sure that you are parked at least 15 minutes early, ideally across or slightly down the street from the home, never directly in the driveway. Why? Well, there's multiple reasons. Number one, you don't want to block the seller's access when they're coming to rush home from work for the appointment. You don't want your car to ruin their coming soon photos. So when you leave with a signed listing agreement, you're going to pop some coming soon photos. We'll talk about that later. But you don't want to have to then move your vehicle, deal with all of this. And you also, sometimes your car might have a oil leak or something is going on with it. Nothing's worse than leaving a listing appointment and you just left an oil stain on their driveway because some issue happened with your vehicle. Now, believe me, these things all sound like I'm a little neurotic, but they make a big difference. So, speaking of cars, clients will judge you by your vehicle. Don't believe me? Just imagine if you were having brain surgery and your brain surgeon showed up in flip-flops and a dirty shirt. Presentation matters. Early in my career, I drove a hideous Buick touring sedan. If you don't know what that vehicle is, I don't know if they make an uglier vehicle than that. Seriously, look it up. It's probably the most ugly car you could ever imagine. So I had to borrow vehicles in my early stages so that I could show up to these appointments and look actually professional. You might think that's pretentious, but sorry, not sorry. It works. Because first impressions count. So think about these things. They're looking out the blinds, checking you out. They're judging what you drive, what you wear. You're about to handle one of the largest assets of their life. Now, some of you, I can hear that little devil on your shoulder going, oh my gosh, if they don't like me for me, then they're not good enough to work with me and this and that and the other. I'm just telling you, I didn't set the rules for this world. Sales are all about the client. They have nothing to do with you and your personality. The quicker and earlier you understand this, that your role in this is to be a chameleon, the more success you're going to have. And yet I can still hear you with that little devil on your shoulder going, but Brendan, I've watched Selling Sunset or Millionaire Agent, and these agents are so, look at this, and he talks like this and she talks like that. We're not talking about the half a percent of the planet. I'm talking about the real world here, real people in real situations. I'm not telling you to be inauthentic. I'm telling you that the client is the most important piece here. They care about themselves. They don't necessarily care about how authentic you are. So do you want to build rapport? Here's the key thing. Do you like people that are like you? Or do you like people that are not like you? When you're hanging out with someone and you go, you know what? I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. I just don't vibe with that person. That's what we're talking about. The best salespeople on earth know how to utilize that skill. So, we want to now be outside. Now we're going to go into what we call our pre-appointment ritual. Now you're parked comfortably. It's affirmation and visualization time. So we're sitting across the street, slightly down from the house. Now, again, this is all just depending upon situational, where you're at in the neighborhood and all these different things. But we're going to start going in, getting our mindset prepared for this amazing appointment. So the first thing we have to do is repeat some affirmations so we can predict the outcome in our brain. So here's just a sample one. John and Susie are going to love me. They're going to laugh at all my jokes, sign my agreement, and give me a key for the lockbox. I'm going to repeat that over and over, right, in my head. And a lot of times I do this on the way to the appointment. Then I take a moment and I visualize the entire process from knocking on the door, shaking hands, sitting down, touring the home, presenting my unique selling proposition, my selling program, them signing the agreement, placing the key in the lockbox, taking coming soon photos, and driving away successfully with another happy seller. I do this over and over, just like if I was getting ready for a big game that I'm going to be, visualizing myself catching that game-winning touchdown. It's the same situation. If you're sitting outside your car going, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous, and I know they're really, really, tight on their price, and they're going to beat me up about this. And I talked to them already on the phone, and they told me that, they're not going to list with anybody unless it's a reduced commission. If you start plugging all of that into your mind, you're just setting up your whole entire appointment to have these grenades thrown at you one after another. You're going to, pow, pow, pow. We're not trying to have grenades, even though we're going to get some of them during the appointment sometimes. But the more we just anticipate massive success, I'm telling you from doing this, I never believed in any of this stuff, but from studying it for years, I realized it makes a huge difference in how I show up, makes a huge difference in predicting the outcome. So try it on your next appointment. I'm telling you, it makes a major difference. Now, we're ready to go. So we've done our pre-appointment, we've done our affirmations, we've done our visualization. Now we're going to knock on the door to the home 10 minutes early every single time. Why? Well, it shows that you're proactive and professional. If you're late, client starts wondering if you're even going to show up. Arriving early positions you as organized and respectful. They might initially say, "Oh, you're pretty early." Just respond warmly. "Oh my gosh, am I? I can just wait here if that's a problem." Think about the seller psychology. They go, "No. Just give me a second. We're just finishing up, getting ready to have you come in." Now you have control. Now I know I can hear some of you, because I've taught this live so many times. You're thinking to yourself, "Brendan, that would really irritate me if you showed up that early to my house, and this with that, and this with this." I'm telling you, this has all been studied from the top agents across the country. This all is rooted in psychology. And that's what all of top salespeople are doing. It's psychological. It's not about what you think or how you feel. Okay, so just take that, just take it all in, and just take a breath. All right. So this maintains psychological control, reinforcing your professionalism, and then we have initial contact. So at the door, shake their hand confidently. They open the door, shake their hand. Again, non-COVID, of course. Insist on removing your shoes. Now, you can wear booties. That's totally fine. I think booties make you feel more like you're there to repair the sink, or you're there to do certain things. There's something to be said. I don't know if it's just the feel of it, but taking off your shoes just has a sign of respect to the homeowner, and say, "I insist," right? They're going to go, No. You don't need to take your shoes off. We're not that kind of house. We're not that. And here's the fun line that I've always used. I just go, "I insist. You have a lovely home. We want to make sure we're protecting this beautiful asset." Now, if you're walking into a crack house and there's needles on the floor, well, don't do that, obviously. But these little things are important. Then, of course, if you're wearing stilettos, ladies, on their brand new bamboo floors, and you're clocking around through their house going bam, 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 bam. I've been on appointments, and I've been in different situations where I've seen this happen, and I've watched the seller cringe at another agent, just watching them take, 6-inch heels on any type of wood floor surface. So it's okay to take your heels off. Make sure that your sock game is on point. Make sure that you don't have holes in your stockings or your socks or whatever it is. And just think about respect and professionalism this entire time. Now, for most, almost all the shoes I own, I think every shoe I own, except for maybe a sneaker, is a slip-on, slip-off. I'm not sitting there trying to undo my laces. When I leave, I'm trying to redo laces. I'm in and out of houses all the time, so I need to have my shoes pop on, pop off. I need to have my sock game on point. These are just some of those few minimal things. I actually had I was on a listing appointment with an agent. He had set the appointment, and I was there to try to support him. And he shows up. He had 2 different socks on. I looked at the seller, looked at him. This was probably a $2.1 million house. The seller looked down at him and he goes, "Tough morning?" And right there, even though that comment, was so off-putting, the seller was just basically going, "What are you doing? You're showing up here to list my house and you can't even match your socks?" As I said, everyone, their perception is their reality. Everyone is judging everything all the time. You're trying to be just like when you tell a client how to stage a home. We always tell clients, which you shouldn't be telling them how to stage a home, but when you're thinking about how you want a home stage to have maximum sale value, you want it to be neutral. Neutral. You don't want to have the purple bedroom or the rainbow bright this or the unicorn wallpaper. Neutral. That's what you're trying to be, is neutral, so that they can focus on what you're saying, so they can focus on why you're there, and they can focus on that you're a professional. So again, consider those slip-on shoes for convenience. And then, of course, like I said, if it's sketchy, don't worry about, doing this. Make sure you're always protecting your feet. So a lot of feet stuff there, but we're having fun. So living room strategy, no immediate tours. So here's what's going to happen. Clients usually want you to immediately tour the home. Politely and professionally redirect them and say, I can't wait to see your beautiful home, but first, can we sit briefly to review your goals and confirm your objectives here in the living room? Or if there is a living room. Now, if the property is vacant, you're just going to try to go to an area where you can put your things down and chat with them for a few minutes. We don't want to just rush in and start looking at the entire house. And believe me, I've tested this a lot, and I'm telling you, this is the way to do it, because you want to first humanize yourself and the appointment and start talking to the client so they know that you're there for them, not there just to go, oh, those are nice windows, and you're writing in your notebook, oh, you put in some new floors, oh, right? We don't want to be the person that's a contractor. We want to be the consultant. And consultants always start with, what are your goals? Okay? So now we're going to get into this, and we go, so if there's a living room, that's perfect. Remember, trust building happens best in a relaxed conversation. So now as we get into rapport and trust building, if we're in the living room, which is preferable, we can confirm their goals using your seller profile that you completed earlier. Now, if you haven't downloaded that yet, you make sure that you get the seller profile. Now, you're going to establish their story clearly. Once you've established their story, the reason why they're selling, meaning that, oh, we're going back to Arkansas because our grandma lives there, or we want to get here, we're going to move down to Scottsdale, we just can't take the snow anymore, or we're tired of the taxes here. I mean, think about all the reasons that sellers have. You're going to understand their story, and you really want to ask a lot of questions here. The more you know, the more it shows that you care, and because you do care, and the more it's going to help you when you get the property sold in the future. And I'm going to talk about how we leverage the seller story. Then we're going to review the hidden gems and special features. So we want to go with the seller on this journey to make sure before we look at the home that we understand what they think is important and why they bought the home. Was it because of the view, or because of the wine cellar, or because of the south-facing driveway, or because it was on a cul-de-sac, or that it was 3 blocks down from XYZ? Why did they like this home when they selected it? Now, I can hear some of you going, well, what if it's just like a sketchy neighborhood, or it's a $80,000, $50,000 condo, or whatever it is? All of this, everybody looks at their property the same way in a lot of aspects. Just be mindful of this. Don't you don't have to go overwhelmed and be like, if you're in a studio condo and you're going, so why did you decide on this beautiful studio? Don't be silly. Like, be realistic, but just ask me, like, so out of all the other units, why did you decide on this one at the time? Or what other properties did you look at? What made this building stand out to you? Just simple, common sense, build that rapport, that trust. So always make it about them. It's their goals, their home, their story. And then we get into the next section. Now we're going to be talking about delivering the promise. So next, you want to deliver the promise. This is a brilliant strategy guaranteeing you referrals and 5-star reviews from every client. The promise is that we're going to be delivering exceptional service, and in doing so, we're going to earn referrals and a testimonial from every client. So let's jump into this. Every real estate agent dreams of a business fueled by delighted clients enthusiastically referring new customers and leaving glowing 5-star reviews. The key to this dream is mastering the client experience. During your listing appointments, in this chapter, you're going to learn, and we're going to break down a powerful script and system originated by Mike Hicks that turns exceptional service into a steady engine of referrals. This guide is going to walk you through why and how to use this powerful strategy, complete with examples, follow-up checklist, and tips to overcome any initial awkwardness. By the end, you'll be equipped to wow your sellers, secure their verbal commitment to recommend you, and confidently ask for referrals and reviews at every opportunity. So let's dive in. So what is the promise, and why do I care, and why does it matter? Well, at its core, the promise is a simple yet game-changing concept that you, the agent, promise to deliver an outstanding real estate experience. And in return, the client commits that if you fulfill that promise, they'll reward you with a referral and a 5-star review. It's a two-way street of accountability and trust. This matters because in today's market, word of mouth and online reviews are gold. They're often the deciding factor for new clients choosing an agent. By securing a client promise early, you're effectively planting a seed that can blossom into future business. So why do you want to incorporate the promise into your listing presentation? Because it sets you apart from the average agent. It shows confidence in your service, builds instant trust, and aligns your interest with the client. You're telling sellers, hey, look, your satisfaction is my top priority, and I stake my reputation on it. In an industry crowded with agents who overpromise and underdeliver, your bold promise of exceptional service and the guarantee that they can cancel if not satisfied, and we're going to talk a lot about that here in a moment, instantly differentiates you. It assures that the client that you're not just after a commission, you're after a relationship that's mutually beneficial. Perhaps most powerfully, asking clients to make a small commitment in return, a review and a referral taps into a classic principle of psychology. People tend to follow through on things they've said when they've said the word yes. By getting your clients to agree up front, you leverage the human need for consistency. They'll concisely and subconsciously want to act in a way that aligns with the yes they gave you. One study showed that prompting an early verbal commitment dramatically increased follow-through on a later request. In that case, volunteer participation jumped by 700% after people verbally agreed in advance. In real estate terms, when a seller says, yes, that sounds fair to your promise script, and we're going to give you this entire play how to do this, they are mentally preparing to uphold their end of the bargain later. It's like getting a handshake on a future referral before you even sell the house. So now we've got to set this correctly and set this up. So setting the stage, using the promise at the appointment. When exactly should you bring it up? Well, ideally after you've built some rapport, some trust. You've discussed their needs, you've walked through your marketing, you've talked through what you're going to be looking at in their property, their seller story, their hidden gems, all of that wonderful stuff. By this point, the sellers are hopefully thinking, this agent really knows their stuff. Now, right before you close for the listing, asking them to sign the agreement, you have an option of where you want to do this. Now, you can do this in the living room. So we've met them, we've gone through these. Before you want to take a look at the home and tour the home, you can set up the promise right at that moment. Now, I have a lot of agents that like doing it here because it's where they get their first yes. This is where I prefer to do it. And then there's other agents that like to do it at the kitchen table towards the end of the appointment. You're going to be able to figure this out and beta test this when you're on different appointments. I prefer in the living room after I've met the client, I've not toured the home yet, and I set this expectation on how this will all play out. So as you've done all of this, now think of it as setting a verbal contract of excellence. Your tone should be confident but warm, and you can even introduce it with a bit of upbeat energy. For example, you might say with a smile, so John and Susie, I have something I'd like to share with all my clients. I call it the promise. It's how I ensure you get the best service possible. Just that opening line primes them to pay close attention. Make sure to maintain eye contact and speak sincerely. The sincerity is crucial, as this is heartfelt pledge, not a gimmicky script. Some agents even physically lean in a bit or put a hand on the table or on the coffee table or wherever you're at, signaling this is important. You could also use a printed card or write our promise on a piece of paper as a visual aid. very much like a mini whiteboard as you speak, since people absorb messages better when they both hear and see them. Now, let's look at the actual words of this powerful dialogue and break down why each part works. So, delivering the promise. Here's the full script. When the moment is right, take a breath and deliver the promise script in a clear, confident voice. So this is what it's going to sound like, and we'll give you a full copy of this, of course, as well. So feel free to tweak this, minor words to fit your personality style, but make sure you're keeping the essence. I've had people call it their commitment to excellence. They can title it whatever you want, but all in all, it's still a powerful strategy, and it's going to hold you accountable to providing this exceptional experience, which is absolutely critical in building a great listing business. So, Susie, my promise is to provide you with the most exceptional real estate experience on earth. Throughout this transaction, my team and I will be checking in with you to make sure we are delivering on that promise. When we do deliver on our promise, I'm going to ask you to do two things for me. Number one, provide me a review on our Google business page, a 5-star review. And number two, Susie, refer someone you know who might need our help in buying or selling a home. Does that sound fair? Then I pause and I wait for that response. Every single case I've ever done this, the client smiles and says something like, yeah, absolutely, that sounds fair. They always say fair. People in their minds do not want to be unfair, so the fair always comes out here. And boom, what just happened? You just got your first yes, your first verbal commitment. They just visualized you moving forward with selling their home, you providing an exceptional experience, and them giving you a 5-star review. So this positive micro agreement sets the tone for the entire relationship moving forward. Now, let's unpack the script's components to understand why it's so effective. Now, we have opening the promise. My promise is to provide you with the most exceptional real estate experience on earth. Talk about setting the bar high. The language is intentional, right? It's to convey unshakable confidence. It's also a bit humorous in its grandiosity, right? It sounds almost like exceptional experience on earth. And I remember the first time I did it, I was like, this is kind of cheesy. But I watch the client's face look at this and they go, wow, who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want the most exceptional experience on earth? So make sure you're thinking through that. It's extremely powerful as we go into this. Now, as we move through, we're going to talk about how to deliver on this. So there's frequent check-ins. So throughout this transaction, my team and I will be checking in with you to make sure that we're delivering on our promise. Think about that phrase. This line is golden for building trust. It tells the client, we won't disappear on you. We're going to constantly communicate and ensure you're happy at every step. Sellers have often heard horror stories of agents who vanish after getting a listing or contract signed. You're differentiating yourself by emphasizing communication is so critical to your promise of making sure that you deliver this exceptional experience. It opens a door for honest feedback. Emotionally, the client feels safe knowing they won't have to chase you down for updates. Strategically, it keeps you accountable to top-notch service. You have to check in and make sure you're on track. And that's why you're a successful agent or listing agent. So the two requests, the review and the referral, when we deliver on our promise, I'm going to ask you to do two things. This is the heart of the entire script, right? Refer someone and a 5-star review. Now, it's phrased confidently as when we deliver, not if we deliver. This presupposes success. You're painting a mental picture where you have already done a great job, and now you're simply collecting the reward. That vision plants optimism and certainty. By listing two things, you make it clear and straightforward. It's not open-ended. You hope, again, it's specific. A review on whatever platform you use, Zillow, Google business page, whatever you're collecting your reviews on, and hopefully video testimonials, this is the what you want to be communicating. Now, this might sound pushy, but most clients find it perfectly fair. After all, you're only asking this after you've proven yourself. You can even add a lighthearted tone like, I'm going to earn the right to ask you for these two small favors, which reinforces that you don't expect something for nothing. Then lastly, the closing confirmation. Does that sound fair, Susie? This gentle question is crucial. It's a low pressure ask for an agreement. Now, all of this is rooted in psychology. By design, it's hard to say no to something that sounds fair, like we already discussed. You're basically asking if the client agrees to this mutual pledge. Think about that wording, a mutual pledge. Most will agree without hesitation. Well, of course I will. Yeah, that sounds fair, Brendan, not a problem. Congratulations, you just got them to say yes to excellent service plus their future referral all in one go. Psychologically, this is huge. The client is now mentally inclined to view you as their agent. They've just committed to working with you and even helping you later. Now, it's also an easy yes because who wouldn't want exceptional service? By the time you ask this question, you framed it as benefiting them as it's fair. You give me outstanding service, I'll gladly give you a referral. It feels like a win-win pledge because it is. Now, they agree it's fair, and now there's a symbolic handshake. Think about this. You're not going to shake their hand right there, but you just got a mental handshake. And in sales, this is huge. So now that we've done this, right, they reward that effort with your success. It's a fun mental image to carry forward, and you can even joke about it with the client. All right, we have a deal. I promise to knock your socks off with great service, and you promise to give me that 5-star rating at the end. I'm not saying to do this. You can figure out how to work this into your own rhythm later. So you can say all of this with a grin. Humor like this keeps things light, but also memorable. So why does this work? Well, at first glance, that script might just seem like a clever way to ask for referrals, but it's much more. It's doing heavy lifting on several emotional and psychological levels. It builds trust through transparency by stating upfront that you'll be checking in to ensure they're happy. You show you care about their experience. This transparency, I want to know if I ever fall short, right? If I don't provide the exceptional experience, makes clients trust you, that it completely humanizes you, that you're not just a salesperson. You're a service provider who genuinely wants to do right by them. Clients relax knowing they won't have to wonder what's happening with their sale. You've promised to keep them in the loop. Now, it of course creates a mutual accountability. This isn't just telling them something that you're going to do. It asks them to do something to that review and that referral. This two-way street fosters a sense of partnership. It's our promise, not just mine. The client now has skin in the game psychologically. They're thinking, okay, I told Brendan that if he does a great job, I'll write a nice review and refer my neighbor who's thinking of selling. Now they have a tiny obligation to you, which works in your favor. People generally like to keep their promises. Nobody wants to feel like they went back on their word. This dynamic keeps them engaged and even excited to see you fulfill your end because they've tactically agreed to fill theirs. So this also leverages the power of building on small yeses. In sales, there's a classic technique of getting the prospect to say yes to small questions throughout the conversation that make sense. Would you agree this strategy could get your home more exposure? They say yes. Every little yes is a mental agreement that builds positivity and momentum. The promise script concludes with, does that sound fair? An easy yes, which might be the final yes that tips the scales in your favor. At this point in your listing presentation, if they say yes to the promise, it's highly likely they're also saying yes to you as their agent. They've mentally decided, yes, I'm going to go with this person. All those planted yeses create a psychological path of the least resistance straight to signing your listing agreement. It feels natural to proceed because at each step they've been in agreement with you. And then it also sets an ultra positive tone. This is huge in sales. The whole vibe of the promise conversation is positive and enthusiastic. You're talking about exceptional service, a 5-star experience, happy referrals, all upbeat things. Emotionally, this pumps up the client. Selling a home can be stressful for owners, full of fears. I mean, think about it. Will my agent do a good job, etc.? This is so nuanced, but it's so powerful. The promise reframes the situation in a positive light. It gets the client thinking about success. Imagine we sold your home and you're so happy you're recommending me to friends? It's almost like a visualization exercise, painting the outcome where everything went great. That optimism is infectious and can calm a client's anxieties. Plus, by mentioning referring someone who needs help, you subtly imply the outcome will be so good that they'll want their friends to have the same experience. which suggests confidence that the sale will be extremely successful. You're basically saying, this is going to go so well, you'll be bragging about it to all your friends. Provides a built-in feedback loop. This is also critical in a long-term listing career. By inviting them to hold you to your promise, you also encourage them to speak up if anything dissatisfies them. Some clients might normally hold back minor complaints or confusion, then blast you in a review later. But since you're going to be checking in with them to make sure we're delivering on your promise, I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. You've given them permission to be honest during those check-ins. This is huge for customer service. It allows you to address issues in real time. It's far better to learn during week one of the listing that they felt that there was some issue or that the home description was off than to find out in a review afterward that they weren't satisfied. We want to neutralize any issues throughout the transaction so we can always get back to this exceptional experience. So, in summary, the promise works on the head and heart. It's logical, quid pro quo, we both win, and emotional, trust, excitement, partnership. It persuades the client to view you as the exception or provide you as exceptional before you've even started, which challenges you to live up to that image. That's a good thing. It's like planting a series of mental yes flags along the way. So by closing time, the client is already on your team, rooting for you and wanting to give you that review, wants to give you that referral because they feel invested in the outcome. So making the promise real. Now that you've promised this, now we have to deliver. So you vowed to the seller at the appointment, the promise that you won the listing. Fantastic. Well, now we got to talk about how to deliver on that. You must live up to your end of the bargain. Remember, this strategy only works if you truly do provide an exceptional experience. The good news is that the promise scripts itself and gives you a blueprint for how to proceed. So let's think about the words. My team and I will be checking in with you throughout the transaction. Now, if you don't have a team, just say, let me preface that. No matter what, you have a team. I don't care if it's you and a TC, you and a home inspector, you and a title rep. You should always be trying to make it feel as if you have a team. Now, if you just want to say it's just me and I'm the one-person show, you can change that phrasing instead of saying my team and I to just I will be checking in with you. That's totally fine. But you should come from a place that you have a team no matter what size of agent, even if you are an individual agent, there's other people that are involved in the transaction. So that means proactively communicating at key milestones. And even in between, if nothing is happening, it means anticipating their questions and answering them before they ask. Essentially, run your business in a way that earns 5-star reviews. So, practical ways to deliver on the problems. Make sure you're ultra responsive. Of course, return calls and text promptly, even if you don't have an answer yet. A quick, I got your message and I'm working on that. I'll update you soon will go a long way. Show them they're a priority. This responsiveness is often the number one factor in a client feeling they got exceptional service. Now, you might be thinking to yourself at this point, my gosh, Brendan's going so deep into this. I'm telling you, if you're wanting the nuances of how to make sure that you're going to be a top listing agent, these are those nuances. If you're rolling your eyes and just going, oh, yeah, I'm not going to do, oh, that's whatever. I've never had to do that in my career. I've been selling houses for 25 years, You're reading this right now because you want to make it minimum $100,000 a month or more from your listing presentation. If you are doing that, congrats. This will help you and tweak a couple of other little things. If you're not doing that, that's why you're here. To make over $1.2 million every single year or consistently $100,000 a month. I didn't just come up with this. This is what would the research from the top real estate agents in the country do every single day. So take it serious. Take it at the level. You get paid, remember, either an absorbent amount of money or not very much money based on how well you communicate with the client. This is what this does. So make sure, back to the promise, right? So when it's Monday, after you've taken the listing, Monday morning, brief on last week's activity. Of course, it should already be sold when we explain how to do our program, but a Monday morning brief on the activity, no news this week, but here's our plan is better than silence. It reassures them that you haven't forgotten them. Then we need to educate and set expectations. Part of an exceptional experience is no surprises. Take time early on to educate your sellers about the process. You likely did some at the listing appointment, but it needs to continue all the way through the transaction. When you hit steps like the inspection or appraisal, explain what they mean, that what could happen and that you'll handle things. Clients feel well cared for when they never are left in the dark. And then, of course, go the extra mile. Little touches can turn a great service into an exceptional one. For example, helping coordinate a handyman for repairs, or bringing coffee to the early morning showings, or creating a customized weekly report of online properties if they are doing a buy-sell with you. And of course, if you're having an agent handle that part for you. These don't have to cost much money. It's about thoughtfulness, and then brainstorm small wow moments that you can sprinkle in. Perhaps send a mid-transaction thank you card saying, I appreciate the trust you've placed in me. Just a reminder that I'm 100% committing to getting you the best results. It reinforces your promise. Then solve problems fast and with confidence. If a problem happens, and let's be honest, in this business, it always does. If a hiccup occurs, right, we got to make sure that we handle it with grace. This is where you prove your worth. Rather than panicking or hiding issues, address them head on. Hey, we hit a bump, but here's what I'm doing to fix it. Clients remember how you handle challenges more than how you handle the easy stuff. When you smooth out a potential deal breaker and keep the transaction on track, that's exceptional service. Throughout, keep tying it back to the promise in their mind. You don't have to literally mention it every day, but the theme should shine through in your attitude and words. We're on it, you care, and that you're determined to make them happy. When you do your periodic check-ins, you can say things like, hey, just doing my promise check-in. How are you feeling about everything so far? I want to make sure we're still living up to that 5-star exceptional experience I promised you. Any questions, anything, ask it with a smile in your voice. Most often they'll respond with, yes, absolutely. If they have any hesitation, that's your cue to dig in and find out what can be improved. By repeatedly getting them to affirm that things are going well, you're planning even more yeses leading up to the grand finale. Follow-up checklist. Now, we're going to be reinforcing the promise at key milestones throughout the transaction. This is very important to ensure the promise yields that referral. Remember, think about it. One referral, that could be another 10, 15, 25, 35, depending on your price point, your average sales price market. That's a huge amount of money to you and to your family for just doing this process correctly. This is where agents go on. So think about it. If I take 10 listings, and I'm not saying that that's what anyone listening to this should be doing, but if I took 10 and I got 10 referrals, that's 20 transactions. If I do these processes correct, and this is instead of me having to go prospect or lead gen or create my listing lead funnel or do all of this, more client appreciation, all these other things that we do, right? Why do that when I can just get one referral from every seller I work with so I can double my transactions? This works. We've proven it. We've done it. I've done it. I've done it time and time and time again. You just have to know how to do this process at a high level. So to ensure that that it yields that referral and review, it's critical to revisit and reinforce it during the transaction, not just at the appointment and closing. So there's going to be a handy checklist to follow up during these moments on how to approach them. After the listing agreement is signed day one, send a warm welcome email or handwritten note. Reiterate your excitement to deliver an exceptional experience. For example, thank you for the opportunity to represent you. As I promised, my goal is to give you the best real estate experience ever. I'm going to take great care of you, and I haven't forgotten that you promised me a 5-star review when I do. Now, you can put a little smiley emoji. You don't have to do that last part. Personalize it to yourself. It's completely what you feel comfortable with. So let's get started. The wink emoji, a little humor can be used if this fits into your style, but keep it light. The early reminder reinforces the positive tone and shows your seriousness about service and that you remember that this is their commitment too. Next check down during the home showing phase. Now, what we call this is during our VIP showing window in our Sold in 65 program, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later. So check in at least weekly, even if there's not much to report. Now, it shouldn't take you this long, but depending upon the appointment, we need to be checking in on a scheduled basis. So a quick call. Hi, Jane, just touching base as promised. We had 3 showings this weekend. The feedback has been XYZ. How are you feeling so far about anything? Anything more you need from me? This invites feedback. If they express any concern, address it as soon as possible. If they say all good, you can reply, great, my goal is to keep it that way. Remember, if at any point you feel I'm not delivering on that 5-star service, please just tell me. I want to make sure that we fix it. So far, so good? Awesome. This subtly reminds them again of the 5-star promise and gives them yet another chance to voice their concerns, which usually they won't, meaning things are fine. At the offer negotiation stage, so when an offer comes in, emotions can run high. This is a perfect time to shine. All right, we've got an offer. As your agent, I've been waiting for this moment to really, really make sure that you're happy. Now, I'm just saying, use your own wording. Then you walk them through the negotiation strategy. After successfully negotiating the contract, happy with reinforce, we did it. I hope you're feeling that I had your back. I'm working hard to fulfill on that promise that we talked about earlier. Clients will often enthusiastically agree, oh, you've been great. Each enthusiastic confirmation is music to your ears and sets the stage for asking for that review after. Then we move on to the next point where we can check on this. Now, here's a little side bonus. During this, you can also ask for the referral during these check-ins. So I'm glad that I'm delivering on the exceptional service that we talked about. So Dan, tell me, just because I'm sure you're talking to a lot of people right now because you're under contract or you're in the selling process, have you come across anyone else you know that possibly could use myself and my team services to get their home sold? It'll become natural sliding these in when it feels like you are delivering this. When you're delivering exceptional service and you're running our program and you're getting people exactly what they want in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of headaches, they're going to be happy to refer you, but they won't do it if you don't bring it up and you don't ask for it. So during the home inspection, this is obviously a tense time. Once you navigate the inspection and resolve any issues, we get to celebrate with them. So now that the inspection is wrapped up and we've cleared that hurdle, I wanted to check in. I want to make sure you're still happy with how we handled everything. I know this part can be stressful, so I aim to make it as smooth as possible. If they're happy, fantastic. I'm so glad. That's exactly what I promised, right? An experience so good you'd happily refer me. And again, we're still on track for that exceptional experience, correct? You can say this with a little chuckle in your tone and keep it light. They'll likely laugh and assure you, yes, you're on track. Then we have the next check down, which is at the appraisal. So do you see how there's a rhythm here? So we have the inspect. So as soon as we list, we have the negotiation, we have during the appraisals, then we have closing day. So here we go. Time to cash in on that promise. At closing, emotions are high in a good way. The clients are excited, maybe a bit nervous to finalize the sale. You've escorted them and guided them through every step. And now is when you directly ask for their review and the referral. As you said you would. You might say during the closing meeting or immediately after papers are signed, congratulations, we did it. I'm so happy for you, right? This energy, right? So this was the exceptional experience I pledged, and I'm glad we made it here. If you're pretty sure of the answer, right, that they're going to say, yes, this was amazing, right? Which they always do. If you've done this right, that's your green light. And you go, great. Well, I'm so happy. I really can't wait to read the 5-star review, or I prefer video testimonial. The video testimonial I'm going to send to you, and hopefully you feel wonderful about recommending me to others. I can't wait to help another person give the same exceptional experience that I provided to you. Because you set this up from day one, it doesn't feel awkward or out of the blue. It feels natural. Many clients will say, oh, definitely, I'll write a review as soon as I get home, or we'll tell everyone we know. If they don't immediately say it, you can politely, and this is the funny part, right? So, again, all depending upon how you set this up, many clients will say, oh, definitely, I'll write a review as soon as I get home. Well, tell everyone we know. If they don't immediately say it, you can politely hand them whatever review link or form you use, and even ask if they know of anyone else thinking of moving, and slide that across the table right then and there. Get the testimonial right there. Right? You're usually sitting there at the closing if you're going to closings. We'll talk about that later in processing, but all of these things are a great time to do this. So make it easy for them, right? Have a pre-printed card or flyer with step-by-step instructions for leaving the online review, and other lines like referrals are the highest compliment you can provide me. I'd love to help any friends or family member that you think you could use my services because they just agreed you were exceptional. They're in the perfect mindset to follow through, and be sure to genuinely thank them for trusting you. Gratitude goes both ways. Now, let's just say that for whatever reason, they don't have somebody right then. You're going to check in 30 days after closing. So a phone call is great, or a personal email. Hi there, it's been about a month since we closed on your home. I just wanted to check in like I promised I would. How's everything going? How do you feel? And now everything is settled, clients appreciate that you're still thinking of them after the deal. If they mention anything else. Now, Of course you care about them, but this is also setting you up to get more referrals. They might have came across somebody else. It's just all of these times are just so good because you did what you said you were going to do. And now maybe they know someone else. So all of this is preset. This is why this is so absolutely critical. Now, as you go through this process past 30 days, you can stay in touch with them, right? Now, this goes on, again, when we're talking about this goes beyond the immediate scope of the promise, but it's worth noting, make those past clients part of your long-term sphere touch plan. The promise set a foundation, or what we call our Ambassador 46 touch in our Listing Beast program, right? The promise sets a foundation for a lifelong fan if you continue to cultivate the relationship. Occasional check-ins, right? Those are huge. Your holiday cards, home value updates, invite to client appreciation events, all of this will keep that goodwill moving forward. So by following this checklist, you ensure that the promise isn't something said once and forgotten. Instead, it becomes a very thorough line for the client's entire experience with you, from first meeting to well after closing. Each checkpoint is a chance to fortify their satisfaction and remind them of the commitment you both made. Now, overcoming the awkwardness of trying to do this. Now, I get it. Anything that you do for the first time feels awkward until you make it your own. So tips for using the promise with confidence. Let's address the elephant in the room. As excited as you might be about this strategy, or if you're rolling your eyes right now, I don't care. I can only tell you what it used to make me millions, right? The promise script, it can feel a bit awkward, but do make sure that you're practicing this, right? You don't want to sound like it sounds scripted or it's going to come off really terrible. Make it your own, but that comes from repetition. So I know you're having these thoughts. Reassurance number one, most clients won't think it's weird at all. In fact, many will be impressed. Number two, you're not actually asking for something outrageous. You're saying, if I do a fantastic job, will you do me this small favor in return? Number three, practice makes it smoother. You're going to hear me keep saying that. Practice makes it smoother. Their whole presentation, of course, but especially this part. The first time you say the words, you might stumble around or sound stiff. Practice will make all that go away. Number four, results will erase the awkwardness. Once you've used the promise a few times and seen the outcome, this is where you really start to get excited about it, because when you start getting those referrals and start making another $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 off of every deal, and you're going to go, thank you, Brendan, for making me really drive this into my brain. I really appreciate it. You're going to love doing this. But again, the results will erase the awkwardness. I promise you. See what I did there? All right. So now what if I promise exceptional service, but something goes wrong and the client isn't happy? Well, let's think about it. Of course, it's true. Occasionally, despite best efforts, a sale can go sour to external factors, derail the perfect experience. Think about this. Like if you go to the Four Seasons or a Ritz-Carlton hotel, you're expecting this amazing experience. And all of a sudden you get there and the bellman doesn't grab your bags, or the valet isn't there to do this, or the front desk person is cranky. You're like, you see yourself get real mad real quick, and you're going, I'm paying this kind of money, and the person didn't even have the decency to say good morning to me or look up from their computer. Think about your experiences, how you felt in this. So now you're frustrated and you're upset. So now let's just say that they checked in with you throughout the stay at the hotel, and you have a manager speak to you or someone at the hotel and go, hey, how's everything going? You're going, you know what? I really was pretty ticked off about this. And they go, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. That is not the level of service that we have here. Why don't I do this? And they usually fix it. They're empowered, that's a big word, to fix those kind of issues. I want you to think about it the same way, right? When you set these expectations and you have this high level of service that you're going to provide, it doesn't mean that you're actually physically having to do more. It's just that you're holding yourself to a higher level of service standard, and all of your clients are going to appreciate that, which is going to lead to a lot more referrals. So, final tip, as you get more comfortable with making the promise your own, right? I want to make sure as you get comfortable with doing this, give it a name in your branding. If you want, call it the Smith Team 5-Star Promise. If your name's Smith, mention it in listing marketing material. Build a lot around this. It's going to separate you from the competition, right? With Susie Swanson Real Estate, we promise an exceptional experience. Ask us about our 5-star promise. It can become part of how you differentiate yourself, and you can build an entire marketing campaign around the entire process. The promise helps you form stronger relationships by starting off on a foundation of trust and mutual commitment, right? So take the promise script, practice it, and make it part of every listing appointment for the rest of your life. All right. That's the best way that I can say it. So now we've been in the living room. We've built rapport. We've gone through and confirmed our goals. We've gone through our seller profile. And now we're going to go into the next section, which is we're going to set the stage for walking and touring the home to make sure that we have absolute massive success. So as I move into this part, we call this how we're going to block objections and master the home tour. So picture this. You're in the middle of a listing appointment feeling confident until the seller drops a bomb, an objection you didn't see coming. Maybe it's, we want to think about it, or another agent said they would do it for less commission, or the classic, we need a higher price than that. Your stomach sinks, and in an instant, the momentum you built is gone. And you're on your back foot stumbling to respond. It's like getting sucker punched in a boxing match you thought you were winning. Not fun, right? Well, I know. I've been there a lot, and I know you have too. Well, it's time to stop playing defense and start dominating these situations before they even occur. So let's cut to the chase. I hate objections. You hate objections. So why are we patiently waiting for them to pop up and derail our deal? What if you could stop objections from ever coming up in the first place? Sound like a magic trick? Well, it's very real, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. We'll start with mastering objection blocking, your new secret weapon. Then we're going to dive into a killer home viewing strategies that turn the home into a powerhouse part of your presentation. By the end of this chapter, you'll have sellers practically begging you to sign the seller agreement before you even ask. No more sweating bullets, no more praying, no more let's bring this up X, you'll handle it all before it becomes an issue. So let's go. Why traditional objection handling is a losing game. Well, first we need to understand why waiting for an objection is a dead-end strategy. The brutal truth is every time you wait for a client to voice an objection, you lose control of the conversation. Think about it. Once an objection is out in the open, a few things happen immediately. Emotion spikes. The sellers just verbalized a concern, which makes it real for them. They feel justified, even obligated to stand behind it. An objection spoken is like a concrete setting. It hardens fast. Now you're trying to chisel your way out of a fully formed worry, and that's an uphill battle. So I want to stop here for just a moment and make sure that we recap where we're at so that everyone understands that where we're going with all of this. So remember, we've shown up, we've done our pre-appointment process. Beautiful. We've shown up 30 minutes early. We've gone through our visualizations, our affirmations. We've knocked on the door 10 minutes early. When we meet the client, confident, we've taken our shoes off. We hopefully, if it's a furnished property, and again, all situations different. I've done listing appointments on fireplace mantles, car hoods, back patios, anywhere you think of, kitchen corner, counters, anywhere. But generally, most of the time, you're going to have a furnished residence that you're working in. So all of this applies. You're just going to have to customize it for certain types of environments. Now we've sat in the living room. Our seller profile that we completed earlier, we've gone back through confirming their goals, what they want. We've built rapport. We've had conversations. We know if we're talking to a tiger, a dolphin, or a turtle. We've now delivered the promise, and we've provided this exceptional experience that they're about to receive, and all of the nuance that's in those if you think about it, the promise is really like 6 sentences. But there's so much power in it when done correctly, and you can take it as far as you want to go. Now, we're setting the stage to the next part, which is now we've got to go look at the home. And as we get into this objection blocking, really, as we get much deeper into this, I want to be crystal clear that now before we go tour the home, we want to set the expectation of what's going to happen so that we don't have to kung fu block any of these objections that are thrown at us along the way. When you hear this word objection, you might be going, what the heck is he talking about? Well, they're going to be asking, how much is your commission? How long is your contract? Not if you do the process that I'm going to teach you correctly, you'll never hear these things. But a lot of times, do you take care of the staging? Do we have to pay for staging? When we create a rhythm in our presentation, an objection block instead of objection handle, we don't have to deal with any of those. And that's why this becomes so much more enjoyable and so much more fun when you're on these appointments, so you can really help the seller. So we're setting the stage. We're about to tour the home. And as we set the stage, we want to set the expectation of what's going to happen next. So I'm excited. They go, as soon as you finish that promise, they go, that's fair. And they go, great. So Susie, the next thing I'd like to do is I would like to take a look at the home. I'd like to tour the entire property. I'd like to start on the main floor first. I'd like to go upstairs, then downstairs. Then I'd like to put my shoes back on and do a full 360 of the exterior with you. I can't wait to see the exterior in the backyard of this home. If it's nice, again, use it. I'm just giving you a little ad lib here. Then when we're done, Susie, we're going to come back inside. At that point, I'd like to either sit at the dining room or kitchen table, preferably kitchen table. That's where it's more comfortable if they have one. From there, Susie, I'm going to take you through Colorado, or again, I'm just using where I'm from, most innovative home selling program. After that, we're going to go through and receive all of your seller preferred terms, everything you want to make sure that you have the most exceptional real estate experience on earth. Next, I'm going to take you through a detailed estimated net sheet so you'll know exactly what you're walking away with. From there, we'll just talk about any other questions that you may have. So the next thing I would like to do, now notice what I'm not doing here is I'm not asking them if they have any questions. Your natural instinct right there is going to be like, do you have any questions before we start looking at the home? If you say that, they're going to start throwing questions at you. All of this is a rhythm. So great. So would it be okay? So let's go ahead and start right in the main floor. I get up and I start walking. Now I know you're going, wait, what? Remember, I want you to think that you have a electric dog zapper collar. My wife, I wouldn't say I own a Pomeranian, but together we own a Pomeranian. His name is Godzilla, and he has this vibrating collar. So every time he starts barking and going insane and working himself into an anxiety-ridden tizzy, it just either has music goes off or it vibrates softly. That doesn't electrically shock him. Just so you all know, we wouldn't do that, right? But it goes and it kind of like vibrates. I want you to think about that similarly in your listing presentation. If words like you ever have come out of your mouth, do you have any questions? Well, as soon as you have asked them if they have any questions, of course they're going to have questions. And those questions are usually going to be grenades that are going to blow up your appointment. They're going to be like, well, how long have you been selling real estate? How many homes have you sold in this neighborhood? Have you sold any homes over $1 million? Will you cut your commission? The other guy said they would. What do you charge for commission? Do you pay for staging? Do you see why this is so important? Rhythm is so critical in the game of a professional listing specialist, where you're going, I'm going to guide you all the way through the end. I'm going to have this beautiful symphony. And at the end, you're going to sign the agreement, give me a key, and you're going to be happy. That's what we're trying to do. Not going, I'm going to do a couple of things and go, so now before we move ahead, do you have any questions? Boom, you're going to get blown up. So pay attention, please. I can't stress this enough. We're talking about making millions of dollars in real estate. And people always ask me, they go, well, why does it seem so much easier for you and the top agents, right? I think it's something like the top 4% of agents sell something like 85% of all of the listings in any area. It's because they've mastered this skill, and you can too. So back to objection blocking. Now, as we jump into this, most agents accept objection blocking, or accept objections as just part of the job. They brace for objections and figure they'll handle them as they come. And sure, you can try to whack-a-mole each objection that pops up, but why would you? Playing whack-a-mole is exhausting, and frankly, it makes you look reactionary. The real problem with this approach is that it keeps you in constant reactive mode. You're always a step behind trying to recover instead of steering the conversation. If you're feeling like the listing appointment is a roller coaster and you're just along for the ride, it's time to hit the eject button on that approach. Flip the script. Objection blocking. Prevent them before they even start. Imagine walking into every listing appointment knowing that no curveball questions or last-minute objections can be thrown at you. You're calm, prepared, and you're in control. That's what objection blocking is all about. This approach does a few beautiful things. One, it eliminates the emotional barrier we talked about. If you address a concern up front, the seller doesn't get a chance to build that wall of resistance in the first place. Two, it builds massive trust. You're showing that you've walked this road so many times and you can anticipate their needs. You're not avoiding tough topics, you're owning them. It positions you as the knowledgeable professional who already thought of everything on their mind. You're thinking, wow, this agent gets it. And by gets it, that means that there's no surprises, right? So if we think about it in real estate, I want you to think about this for a second. We have all the same objections. They don't change very often. The same things: price, cost, time, all of these things. So what I want you to think about is when you're talking to your clients, think about this visual where you've already thought about telling them that all of these things are going to be covered, and all they need to do is sit back and relax, and you're going to get to them. Now, I know you can't say it exactly like that, but when you learn how to do this presentation, and in our Listing Beast program, we go through step by step on exactly how to deliver this. So at the end of the presentation, they look up, they look down, they look at the agreement, they pick up the pen, and they sign. Because you've already taken them on this beautiful journey in about 35 to 45 minutes, generally, unless it's a massive house. And, again, those times vary depending on how much you have to walk the property, right? Bigger properties take a little bit longer. Right? But you have this beautiful symphony that's designed, and you hear me say it a lot, rhythm, this rhythm, right? Boom, 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 signature. Not boom, 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 boom. You got any questions? Slap you in the face. No, that's not what we want. Rhythm, 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 signature, 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 happy, happy, happy clients. That's what we're talking about when we talk about objection blocking. So step one in objection blocking, this is where we want to get clear. Eliminate emotional barriers. The moment, right, that you have a concern is spoken out loud, it gives that objection weight. The client has basically built a mini fortress around that issue. So again, how much is your commission? Once they draw that line in the sand, it comes out of their mouth. Now, if you know that if you already told them that you're going to go through estimated net sheets, you've objection blocked that concern. So you don't have to talk about it right here, right? They go, okay, well, once he gets to estimated net sheets, that's when I'm going to hit him with my commission objection. Well, they're not, because when you do the seller estimated net sheets correctly, they're not going to have any objections, and you move forward. So all of this is just, if they have to say it verbally, they're going to have to defend it, and then you've got to backpedal, and that is not where you want to be. So we want to make sure that we eliminate those emotional barriers and make sure that nothing is spoken out loud ahead of time. We want to take them on the journey. Then step two, we want to build trust, right? We want to build trust by being one step ahead. Sellers often test agents with objections because they want to see if you can handle the heat, right? Like, I just wanted to see what you'd say. But here's the kicker. They don't want a sparring match. They want to feel confident that you know your stuff. By bringing up potential objections yourself, you send a powerful message. I've already done my homework. I've seen it all, and I'm not afraid to talk about it. For instance, one thing you might say early on is, you might be curious why my marketing plan doesn't rely on big, expensive newspaper ads or magazines or luxury home magazines. I'm just giving an example here. The reason is I found targeted online marketing gets your home in front of far more qualified buyers. That's just an example, right? So if you address it and you go, this is why I'm doing this, because on the phone you said that this might be a concern for you, you're telling them that you have a strategy and you believe in your strategy. That's so important. If you believe it, they'll believe it. If you don't believe it, they're not going to believe it. So step three, control the narrative. Keep the focus where you want it. Here's where many agents lose the battle. They let the client's objections dictate the conversation. If a seller interrupts to say, why is your commission higher than the other agents, and you haven't addressed it yet in your seller estimated net sheet or in your value proposition, suddenly the discussion is all about your commission. It's like a courtroom drama where you're now the defendant on stand. Yikes. Objection blocking prevents that scenario. By the time fees or commission come up, you've likely already explained your value and even preempted the question. I run a fully customized marketing campaign for your property, professionally doing this, high-end photography, this. Now, in our Sold in 65 program, you're not even going to need to get into any of what you do. It's all about the strategy that you provide, and it is extremely powerful. And that's why we get such strong value, meaning our actual compensation for every time we take a listing compared to the overall industry. And I'm going to teach you every single step of that coming up. Step four, we need to prepare To objection block, we've got to be prepared. Look, confidence isn't built on the fly. It's built before you ever set foot in the house. So if an objection catches you off guard, you'll find yourself fumbling for a response. And trust me, rushed, half-baked answers rarely impress anyone. The key to objection blocking is anticipation. Before the appointment, put yourself in the seller's shoes and brainstorm what you would be worried about. Would you actually do what you promise, or how are you going to get me X price? Or what happens if my home doesn't sell in X days? Have a mental roadmap of thinking about what they could possibly ask you and build that into your presentation so they never have to verbally state it. And then step 5, and this is a critical one, now we've got to close with confidence, the natural conclusion. Here's the payoff. If you do all the other steps, the close becomes the easiest part of the entire appointment. Why? Because you've removed the obstacles on the road to yes. Think of potentially each objection as a hurdle. If you've already cleared all those hurdles ahead of time, there's nothing left to trip over at the finish line. Every common objection becomes every common objection that was left unresolved is like a little seed of doubt planted in the seller's mind that's going to blow this up at the end. When you learn this art of objection blocking, you're blocking out all of those weeds early. So when you get to the end, the seller isn't pausing or exchanging nervous glances. They're ready to rock, and they grab that pen, and you have another successful, happy client. So now you can see how each step builds on the last, right? That's very important. By eliminating emotional barriers and building trust from the outset, you make it easier for sellers to hear you out. By controlling the narrative and preparing thoroughly, you maintain authority and confidence through this entire process. So before we move on, let me share a quick little true story here. Early in my career, I lost a listing that I thought I had in the bag. Why? The seller had one big concern. They are worried about hiring an agent who would push them to drop the price too fast. I knew this was on their mind because they had hinted to a prior experience previously. But I avoided bringing it up, hoping they wouldn't either. Bad move. It came up at the end when I asked for them to sign the agreement, put down the pen, and they go, "We're just concerned that you might try to lower the price in a week or two. The other agent said," right? This is what the other agent said, "they'd stick it out for our price." I was on my heels trying to explain how I approach pricing, but then their confidence in me had cracked. They listed with the other agent. I vowed never again to let an unspoken concern torpedo my chances. The very next appointment, I led with a conversation about pricing strategy, how we handle adjustments, and how addressing exactly that fear before they could even worry about it. And guess what? I not only got those listings, but I got all the listings after that. So think about how you're doing this, right? Now that you're equipped to block objections like a pro, right? You're a boxer ducking a punch. Let's shift to another critical piece of the listing appointment, the home tour. This is where you walk through the seller's home, and believe it or not, it's just as strategic as a part of the appointment as your pricing analysis or your value proposition. When handled correctly, the home tour can further build rapport, uncover valuable information, but it can also get screwed up if you don't do it right. So now we're going to tour the home. Remember, the first part about this is setting the expectation. You heard me mention it earlier. We just got done in the living room. I want to map out where I want to go so it sounds like I've done it a million times. Here's what I hear agents do all the time. They go, "Okay, so great. So you want to see the house?" And I go, "Yeah." And they go, "Where do you want to start?" And they go, "I don't know. You tell me." Think about how stupid that sounds. "I don't know. I never do this. So why don't you want to start in the basement or you want to start in the main floor?" Have a plan. If you were climbing Everest, right, Mount Everest, and you had a guide, taking you up this mountain, they wouldn't be like, "So where do you want to start?" No. Why are you hiring a guide to take you to the top of Mount Everest? They're going to tell you exactly what to do, what to breathe, what to eat, what to do. Everything is going to be laid out. Where you need to put your tent, where you need to do all these things. We want to get to the top of Everest without any major issues, right? Now, I know those are very different, but I try to think about it the same way to keep me at that level of seriousness. So as we start doing this, now we're going to let this, after we've said, Main floor, upstairs, downstairs, full 360 of the exterior. Think about it always like that. Main floor, upstairs, downstairs, full 360 of the exterior, if there is one. Now, again, if there's no basement in your area, if it's a this, a that, of course, think about your plan before you walk in the home, but always have a plan on how you're going to explain them. Now, we're going to have the seller start leading us through the property. This is their home. It's their pride and joy. Give them the spotlight to show it off, and often say with a smile, I'm excited to see your home. I can't wait for you to provide this tour. Now, what I also say here is critically important. As we go through the home, Susie or John or Skip or whoever you're talking to, what I'd like you to do is I would like you to point out any upgrades or improvements you've done to the home since purchasing it. I would like to tell me about those so I can highlight them. Now, we also talked about the special features. Make sure that you're noting all of those. I'd also like you to point out anything that you think might be a concern for a potential buyer. So any inspection items that you think might be a concern, some things that you've thought about the home. The more you know and the more thorough you are, the more that you're going to have a better strategy and plan once you get to the kitchen table for what needs to happen next. So this is critically important to make sure that you give them that explanation instead of just going, all right, let's just walk through the house. And they're just going, hey, look, this is the bedroom. That's the other bedroom. If you don't direct them, they don't know what to say. They're not going to know how to help you. Now, during this tour, you want to build rapport and bond over details. As you're going through the tour, you're looking for little nuggets that you can generally connect on. This is where you get to be a human being, not just a business machine, right? So again, a perfect example, right? If you spot a Red Sox poster in the den and you happen to be a fellow baseball fan, well, you bet you can mention it. Are you a Sox fan? Oh, I caught this game at such and such. I remember my cousin was a big Sox fan, Whatever it is, if they love ceramic frogs, I mean, I've seen everything. You're not trying to be inauthentic, but people want to connect on a human level and you're inside their home, right? Everybody has their own level of, I call it weird, right? We're all weird. Everybody has their own things that they love, that they think are really cool, and all they want to do is tell you about them. So take that time to understand that and enjoy it. Now, mind your compliments. This is huge. Mind your compliments. Be genuine, not generic. Speaking of building rapport, sincere compliments, and I do mean sincere compliments, go a long way, but they have to be real. Sellers can tell when you're just buttering them up. I was on an appointment once, and again, I went on a lot of appointments with agents to shadow and try to help along the way. And I had an agent, and he was very, very like gregarious, just very over the top. And we were on this listing appointment. He had set the appointment. He's just going, anytime the client would say something, he'd be like, that is the most beautiful I've ever seen. I don't care if it was just a regular toilet. He was like, oh my gosh, is that toilet new? That toilet looks new. That's the most amazing toilet I've ever seen in my entire life. You don't want to do that, right? We don't want to do those kind of things. This can be it comes across inauthentic, and the seller knows that you're just trying to butter them up. Now, on the other side of that, I do want to give this warning. Some of us are going to be, again, I came from nothing. I have a GED. I got into real estate with $98 to my name. I know what it feels like I'd never been in a luxury home in my entire life. I grew up in the social service system. So I had to check myself when I was in homes that I had never seen some of these luxury features, whether it was a wine cellar or heated garage floors or heated bathroom floors, I could go on and all of these, and a full golf simulator room. I mean, I've seen golf simulator rooms now that cost more than most people's actual condo or home that they live in. And you can't freak out about these and act like you've never seen anything like this before. You can still make sure you're acknowledging and going, wow, be genuine and going, that's beautiful. That $750 or 750 bottle, temperature controlled wine cellar that has lasers if anything falls off, the shelf or stolen or anything like this. That is going to be an excellent feature that buyers in this market are really going to enjoy. But you're not going to be like, damn, damn, like you got a 750 bottle wine cellar? What? Like if you act like that, then they're going, you've never been in a home of my caliber. You don't know these things. You don't understand these things. So a lot of this has to become from a place of pure confidence and make sure that you feel comfortable. Now, the big part too now is we've got to steer clear of criticism during the tour. This one is huge. I know a lot of agents out there go, my role is to tell them what I think about the home to get it sold. And I want to be very clear that that is not true. You are there to get as many qualified buyers into the home as humanly possible to get the seller to get the home sold and to create a buyer frenzy. Your role here is to do that. You are not, some of you are, but most of us are not didn't go to interior design school. We're not stagers. We know a lot because we've been doing this for years, but I warn you right now, try to defer staging questions. We have a state certified stager that we have on our team. When I say team, she doesn't pay, I don't pay her, hourly. I pay her contractually to go and meet with the client after I've taken the listing agreement to go through all of what they should do for the staging prep. Now, it costs about $200 and $250 depending upon your market. Then she also sells her staging services if the home needs staging, but it takes it off of me having to do that personally. I don't want to get into all these conversations about staging and should they move this couch and they should do all this. And here's the perfect line. They're going to go, so Brendan, tell me, what do you think? I know that we've got our bedroom is neon pink. Do you think we should change the paint color? I go, Susie, that's an excellent question. My goal is to get you the highest amount possible for this home and get as many buyers here as possible. I have an amazing staging consultant. Her name is Stacy. She's part of our entire service that we provide in our Sold in 65 program. Stacy's going to meet with you and she's going to take you through a detailed checklist of every single thing to do in this property to maximize the overall value. So I can't wait to see the rest of the home. Do you see how that happens there? Boom, 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 boom. I don't have to take these grenades. I don't have to deal with it. It's worth every penny. Now, again, you can set this up with a local stager. You want to make sure you have a good relationship there. But you have different people that do different things as part of this process, because otherwise, if I were to say to her, and I know we're using neon pink as an extreme in the bedroom, but there's subtle things. If I would tell her, you know what, Susie, that neon pink, that's going to be, that's aggressive. You need to paint that to a neutral color as soon as possible. This is still on the listing appointment, even though that might be the correct guidance. If she loves neon pink and has always loved it, and she thinks it's one of the greatest colors on earth, I just smacked her in her gut and I said, ugh. And she goes, oh, he hates it. Well, yeah. Now she doesn't like me. I've had everything from, I have a client once who was a big hunter. And literally I walked into the home and this guy had killed every animal in the history of Earth. It was literally like walking through the Natural History Museum. And he was obviously very proud of all of this and whatever your feelings are. And to put this in perspective, I did the listing appointment sitting on a severed elephant's foot. That was his footstool that he had killed an elephant on safari, and the footstool was a severed elephant's foot. Now, again, I am not a hunter. I respect, every type of people out there. This is, I could have been like, ugh, like he asked me the question, well, what do you think I should do? Because he had interviewed multiple agents. And this was a very expensive home. I think it was like $3.5 million, depending on what your market is to say expensive. I know people in California are like, ha, ha, ha. In Denver, Colorado at the time, that was more of one of our higher end properties, not the highest, but it was one of the higher end properties at the time. And so he had interviewed other agents, and I'm sure all the other agents told him that you need to remove all of these animal heads. You can tell that I'm not a hunter, right? But all of these game trophies or whatever they call them. And again, none of them got the listing. And when I said this, I go, you know what? I go, I'm going to have Stacy come out and meet with you. We'll talk about some things that you're going to want to do to prepare the property. But Joe, I'm here to get you the most money for the home, and I'm going to do that no matter what. Now, later on, I had talked to Joe about it, and he even said to me, he goes, you're the only one that didn't come in and gawk at all of my game trophies and all of this. And Brendan and I really respected that. Stacy was very considerate to all of these things. Remember, what sells a home? Price and time. Price and time. I could sell a home with I hate to say this, dead bodies in it laying in the kitchen room floor if it was priced at a certain amount. Now, I know that's aggressive. I'm just saying that to break it into your mind, but going, every house will sell at a certain price. So I don't want to get into these detailed criticisms of anybody's home or what I personally think or feel about what they should do. Now, the next step is you want to ask smart questions and plant seeds. While I caution you against any criticisms, I do encourage asking the seller questions during the tour. The right kind of questions you want to both learn about the home and subtly guide their thinking. For example, ask about all the upgrades. We talked about this before. What have you done to this property? I want to know where you're seeing the value. I want to understand. You're going to have certain people that have done a million things and they've kept every record, and then you're going to have people that go, look, man, I bought it. We haven't touched it. And in fact, it's kind of gone the other way. So it's a little bit rough, but you're not gonna be like, yeah, it is a bit rough, right? Like some people buy a house, they have 6, 7 kids, and you're gonna see the wear and tear of a house with 6, 7 kids, 3 Great Danes, and 2 ferrets. I mean, you've seen it all. Whatever it is, we're just wanting them to open up about it so we can start talking so we know what they're thinking. And then, of course, take notes. Now, when you're taking notes, you're just going to let them know that you're taking notes. Make sure you ask permission to this and go, it's all right if I take notes about everything in here, correct? You're just always trying to make them feel comfortable like you've done this a million times. But if you start scribbling in your book and look like you're judging them, you go, I just want to make sure I have all of the information so we can position your home in the best possible way to get as many buyers as possible to get you the highest price possible in the shortest period of time. Then you're going to use the tour to reinforce your expertise subtly. Now, while we don't want you to critique, you should have the chance to make sure that you're dropping little nuggets on your expertise. So when you're looking at certain things, whether it's the HVAC system or certain components, as you become a better listing agent, you need to study the art of houses and what they have and what they don't. If you happen to know something and you think it's of value that you think solidifies your knowledge and expertise, you can mention that, but don't try to sound arrogant like you're so cool. Like, oh my gosh, are these blah, 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 blahs? And I blah, 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 blah. Again, be careful on what you do here. You're trying to just build rapport and trust. Now, I know you hear me say rapport a lot. Rapport is just another beautiful word for trust. And to dumb it down as best that we possibly can, when we talk about that, I just think about rapport as, in my mind, what rapport to me is it's kind of like this high five, right? I think of a visual high five. When I'm in rapport, we're high five and we're like, yeah, Brendan, you got me. Yeah, like you get me. You get a, like we're down like 4 flat tires, right? We're cool, right? That's what I think about that word rapport. It just sounds fancy, but it's just meaning that we're vibing together in the best possible, way that we possibly can. So now we're touring the home. We've got all the way through this. Here's the bottom line. These techniques work. They turn listing appointments from high-pressure interrogations into smooth, engaging experiences where you're in command and the clients feel taken care of. Now, I'm competitive. I like to win, and I'm sure you do too. Objection blocking and a great home tour give you a serious competitive edge. Most agents won't take the time to do this level of preparation and skillful listening, but now you will, and you'll see the difference it makes. The next listing appointment you walk into, visualize this chapter playing out in real time. You greet the seller with confidence and warmth. You set the agenda and the standards and start planting seeds of insurance from the first conversation in the living room. You tour the home like a savvy friend, not a critic, making the owners feel proud and comfortable. You weave in answers to questions they haven't asked yet, watching their eyebrows raise in pleasant surprise that you totally get it. By the time you sit down at the kitchen table, now, again, we've toured the full exterior, and we're going to talk about that here in just a second. When we tour the full exterior, that's another big opportunity, but I want you to visualize all of this happening. So now we've gone main floor, upstairs, basement, if there is one, whatever the layout of the home is. Now we're going to go back to the front door, either grab our shoes if they're going to take you out the back door, the sliders, or wherever it is. We're going to put our shoes back on, and now we're going to tour the 360 of the exterior. This is why this is so important, and I see so many agents fall down here. A lot of people put a lot of time and care into the exterior of their property. They spend those times out there gardening and tons of hours planting, and they planted their first tree when they had their son or their daughter or whatever it is. They've had barbecues, they've had weddings, they've had all these things. There's a lot of emotion in the exterior of the home. So don't go all the way through this process and screw this part up and go, look out the back door, step on the little concrete pad and go, okay, yeah, so you got a backyard. All right, can we go back in? I'm ready to go to the table. Take the time to go out and ask them questions if there is a backyard. Now, again, I understand every property is different. Not every property is going to have, I've been back in yards where it looks like, Mike Vick's old house, and there's 17 pit bulls and there's cages and it's terrifying. Everyone's different. Every person we meet, that's what's so cool about this profession, is there's so many different unique people that you're going to come in contact with. Now, also be very careful of dogs and pets and people jumping on you. And again, I've actually been attacked by a dog on a listing appointment, but that is not something. So always make sure your safety is, at the utmost importance. Sometimes that slider opens up and they think their giant, whatever type animal they have is going to be chill. Sometimes dogs aren't chill. Sometimes animals aren't chill. So always be weary, always be thought. I was actually sitting at a table once, and the sellers had a feral cat. And the cat actually attacked me while I was sitting at the table, went ballistic, ripped up my pants, bit me, tore through me. I was actually bleeding on this listing appointment and had to go and get whatever the shot is or whatever it is. So I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm going, when you go on a lot of appointments, and I've been on thousands, you're going to come across some very interesting situations. So anytime you need to laugh on an appointment, just think of me in a beautiful 3-piece suit, custom-made suit with a feral cat underneath a table that I couldn't see because it had like a tablecloth, biting into me and attacking my leg, and me trying to shake this cat off while trying to explain to someone why they should sell with me. All in a day's work, right? So just be safe out there. But as we go into the backyard and we want to look at the full 360 of the exterior of the home, here's what I'm looking for. I'm asking questions. I also want to be walking around. When I say 360, now I understand there's fences. I'm looking at the entire property. I'm trying to look for cracks in the foundation, issues that might be coming up that I can't see. I look at the gutters, the roof line, especially the roof. Now, here's the pro tip. When I get back out to the front, I come all the way back out to the front. A lot of agents don't do this. They come into the appointment, they meet with the seller, ignore the front altogether. I go back out to the front. I walk all the way out to the street. I have my notebook. I'm looking at the roof. I'm trying to see the gutters. I'm trying to get a visual of going the curb appeal of this home and thinking about, okay, what is the first buyer that pulls up to this going to feel? I'm making notes in my notebook, and the seller's watching me do all of this, and they're going, no one else did this. The other agent that we met with came in, walked out into the backyard, chatted for a few seconds, walked back in and sat down at the kitchen table. You don't know if they just put a new screen door on the front door that they care about. People love when they put on new roofs. They think it's the greatest thing. You don't know if they just painted the garage door on the front of the house or wherever it is. You don't know. So be thorough. It is what separates you from everyone else, and what separates the fact that you're going to be making millions of dollars doing this business instead of $10,000. Okay. So that's what we want to get into. If you're going to do this, be the best and have that kind of pride. So now I've toured the entire exterior. Come back in, take my shoes off again. They're going to tell you again, no, don't worry about it, Brendan. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. No, I absolutely insist. We want to make sure that we are protecting this amazing asset. The next thing I'd like to do is sit down at the kitchen table, and then I guide them to that point. So now we get to at the table, and this is the critical part here. So congratulations, you've made it through, again, the pre-appointment, at the appointment. What we call that entire last section is at the appointment, all the way through the promise, the setting the expectations, touring the home with a purpose, not getting into staging landmines, touring the exterior, and boom. Now it's game time, my favorite part of the entire presentation, which is at the table. So chapter 6, at the table. So now we're here. We've gone through our first two components, pre-appointment, at appointment. We viewed the house with purpose. This is where the magic happens. This is where signatures land on dotted lines and the money begins to flow. We've got two critical parts left, at the table, and then I'm going to take you through the close. I've separated them into two distinct sections because they're both incredibly important, yet they both happen right here at the table. So positioning matters. When I first sit down, and let's talk about some quick nuances I picked up over the years. A professional elite listing agent learns how to present information upside down. So when I go to sit down at the kitchen table, I want to make sure that the clients are either cat-a-corner to me if there's two of them, if there's just one. Again, what I don't want this to be is like I'm on The Voice and I'm trying to interview in front of 4 or 5 people, and it feels super uncomfortable, like they're going to, give me a 10 or a 6 depending upon my performance. What we want to do is try to be close enough where I can present information that they can view, cat a corner on a rectangular table if possible, but just be comfortable. And you need to redirect people. If you have a couple and one's on the left-hand side of you and one's on the right-hand side of you, think about how stupid your presentation is going to be because you're going to have to ping pong left and right the entire time to show them both information. Ask them to move or ask if you can move so that they can clearly see the information better because there's a lot of value in what you're about to present. Okay, so be confident in where you're positioning and start this from the jump, okay? And make sure that you're ready to rock. Now, the next thing I do, as soon as I sit down, now I've just gone on this, this might sound like a lot. All of this when happening in real time, by the time you get to this part, you've probably been in the home for 20 to 25 minutes. It just depends on, again, how big the house is, the conversation, how deep you're going. If you're a dolphin and, you can't stop talking and all these different things. I'm just joking, dolphins, right? But it all depends on how long this is. It doesn't take a long time. It sounds like a lot because we're going into such detail. So I can hopefully inspire you to drive these nuances home to the heart of your core. So now we sat down at the table. The first thing I do is what I call the glass of water play. Now, a lot of people have heard me teach, live in person across the country, and they always laugh at this. But I learned this tip from another top agent, and it's called the glass of water play. So when I sit down, I always ask for a glass of water once we're at the table. And people go, well, why water? Well, this little tactic accomplishes two things. First, it subtly reasserts control of the situation. And second, it reminds them of their role as a gracious host. Usually they'll say, oh my gosh, I should have offered. We have sparkling, still, ice, no ice. Would you like a soda? A lot of times I get offered wine or a beer. I never take those. But again, you just go, oh, no. Once we get to the closing table, we can celebrate with a couple of drinks if they say something like that, right? Again, assuming the close when we get to the closing table, not if, when we get to the closing table, we'll go out and celebrate. So now when I ask this, again, it's a pattern interruption. They feel a little bit guilty that as a host, they didn't offer me anything inside their home. This does not mean that I drink the water. So now, truth be told, I rarely drink the water, especially because I've been in some sketchy homes with some sketchy things. But hey, you do you, right? The important thing is the psychological effect. Now you're friends. Once they now go, oh my gosh, now I'm hosting you in my home. I go from contractor to someone that's sitting at their kitchen table and we're just talking. We're just chilling, right? Now they scramble around, give me that glass of water. Now I have reset the control and I've also kind of broken in the ice again to relax this next situation because now we're going to get into some serious things with agreements to be signed and estimated net sheets and how much money they're going to be walking away with. I want to make sure that I'm ready to rock into that. So that's the glass of water play. Use it, have fun with it. I guarantee you once you start, you'll start seeing a major difference in your at the table process. So after we sit down at the table and I have the glass of water, now I'm going to start resetting expectations. So after settling in, I briefly reset the expectations once more. So excellent. here's what we'll do next. I'm going to take you through Colorado's most innovative home selling program, Sold in 65. Then we'll establish your seller preferred terms. Then we're going to review estimated net sheets so you know exactly what you're walking away with. After that, we'll discuss the timeline and calendar. And finally, I'll answer any remaining questions. Now, here's a crucial note. I've never actually paused to ask, do you have any questions? Remember Godzilla, my Pomeranian? You get that little vibration. Zzz. We're not going to ask if they have questions. We're not going to do that. They won't at the end. We're all going to finish this all the way through to a rhythm. Even though I mention it, it sounds counterintuitive, but it's purposeful. That way they wait till the end instead of throwing the objection bombs at me. Asking, if you ask right now if they have any questions, it invites objections, and we don't want objections, we want signatures. So maintain rhythm and confidence. They'll naturally hold questions until the end, and by that point, your presentation has neutralized most of them. So now we're going to deliver our unique value. We've set the standard of what's coming next. And now we're going to provide, in our program with Listing Beast, we help all of our agents in our program build their own custom program. Now, a lot of our agents just use ours in our program across the entire country, or we help them build their custom program so it feels something they're proud of, but it has the same premise. We need to have a program, a product, a amazing offering that we're going to provide to the seller that provides a strategy. So it doesn't just go, when you list with me, I'm Susie and I put your home on the MLS and I take photos and I have an aerial drone. And so that's what the Susie system is. I'm not downing if that's what you're doing now. I'm just saying when you have a powerful program, Sold in 65, when I say that you go, I hate the name of that or whatever, we've sold thousands of houses using that program. And it's all based in what comes next in our strategy. We sell homes in 65 hours or less with no one-off showings, no open houses, and we get sellers the highest price possible in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of headache. That's 65 hours is 25 or 24 hours on Saturday, 24 hours on Sunday, and you have offers by Monday at 5 p.m. All right? So everything has been designed for a particular reason. If you're even listening and you go, well, that sounds good, that's what the seller feels as well. So as I'm doing this, we talked about earlier whether you're going to do this digitally or if you're going to do a printed version. Same thing we talked about with the CMA. I personally prefer printed material. They're reliable, they're impressive, and I leave a tangible asset behind. However, many successful agents I know love digital presentations, a laptop or a iPad. Choose what aligns with your style and budget. So let's walk through an example with our imaginary friend, Susie. So, hey, Susie, we've identified two significant problems with traditional real estate sales that have been costing sellers thousands of dollars. First, longer market time means lower sales prices. Homes sold within 7 days typically achieve an asking price or higher. At the 50-day mark, sellers only get about 85.5%. That means that if you're $1 million home listed too long, you could lose $150,000. Ouch, right? Secondly, costly inspection repairs eat into your profits. Plumbing issues, furnaces, AC units, these can add up quickly. So what I just did there is I'm stating two problems that we solve in our Sold in 65 program to anchor their brain to just these two things: time on market and costly inspection items. So now I'm going to move into the next part. And we have this entire beautiful brochure, a value proposition that displays all this. To solve these problems, we use our unique 65-hour showing weekend strategy, 24 hours Saturday, 24 hours Sunday, and by 5 p.m. Monday, your home is under contract with fantastic terms. We build urgency by pre-marketing your home, letting serious buyers see it early, pre-qualifying them personally, and offering VIP treatment. This creates buyer frenzy, driving up your home's value rapidly. I meet these early buyers personally. I humanize you, Susie, right? Now, Susie, you already told me everything. Nurse, that you're married to a firefighter. You want to sell because you're moving closer to mom. That's what we call your seller story. I highlight your home's unique features, that gorgeous sauna and garden fountain. I clearly communicate your preferred terms, which means all of the things that we are going to be talking about to have the most exceptional selling experience here. And then buyers feel special and urgent, prompting them to make immediate, robust offers. The next thing I do, Susie, is we go what we call closing the window. Now, during this VIP showing window, as buyers leave, I close the window. Now, not your physical window. I close the window of urgency. I let them know that we're going to launch the property publicly at Sunday at 12. And if they don't submit a strong offer tonight, then if they do submit a strong offer, we might be able to not have that property go to public showings on Sunday. This incentivizes the immediate high-quality offers. Plus, we reassure buyers with our inspection protection program, covering every major home repair for 12 months post-sale, removing any fear of hidden cost. Now, what I just did right there, think about all of the nuance in that. So we're offering a home warranty in our Sold in 65 program that's going to protect the listing while it's active on the market, even when it's incoming soon, active on the market, and then the buyer's going to have peace of mind 12 months after the close. So depending upon what you offer in your listing program, we talk about this in our Listing Beast program on how to build this, what we call a value stack. When you have a value stack, you're able to not only have a better exceptional experience, but you're able to charge more because you're providing more, so the seller nets more in the final sale. All right, so I just want to make sure we're talking through all this. I'm just kind of going through a quick summary here, but there's an entire presentation of this that you're going to need to learn so that you can make millions and millions of dollars. We're not talking about making 50 grand. We're talking about making millions and millions of dollars I've used this same exact thing to make now 68 million in GCI. It works. You just have to make sure that you're learning it. And this isn't rocket science. You can learn, this is 1 hour. You have to learn a 1 hour presentation to make hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, millions and millions of dollars a year. Got to learn a 1 hour presentation. Take it that serious. So as I'm sitting there with Susie, I go then to take it further with we have what's called a buyer, we call it BOOM, our buyer offer optimization method. So Susie, if an offer comes in, I push for the absolute best terms and price before bringing it back to you. This ensures every offer is maximized. Borrowing wisdom from industry giants, Susie, I didn't invent the buyer psychology strategy. Companies like Apple and Tesla have perfected the art of creating urgency and exclusivity. We're applying those same powerful strategies to your home sale. Now, I wrap this up without inviting objections. Finally, I transition smoothly without inviting questions. I pull out my Padfolio and I say, great. Let's now set your initial asking price to ignite a buyer frenzy and maximize your sale price. So just imagine, I have the brochure sending out. I go through all the value of my value package. Now, I did this very quick. Obviously, depending on your value proposition, you could have 10 pages, 12 pages, 15 pages. I've just gone through all of that. And then what am I not going to say? That's right, you're getting it. Do you have any questions? Nope. Do you see this rhythm? No pauses, no hesitation. Keep the rhythm, keep the momentum. I'm just going to go, great. After I show them that, let's set your initial asking price to ignite a buyer frenzy and maximize your sales price. Now, keep the process. Your confident flow and strategic process will secure signatures effortlessly. Now we move into the next key component, which is what we call seller preferred terms. All right, so let's take a breath now that we're at seller preferred terms. And I want to just calm down for a second here. We've gone through quite a bit. And now as we move into this next section, I really want to frame this that you've delivered a powerful home selling program, your strategy. We help you customize that completely in our Listing Beast program. And now we're going to move into taking the order. So when we take the order, and this technique is so powerful, we call it seller preferred terms. So now that you've finished delivering the most powerful home selling program on earth, you've gone through this, you've explained the strategy, you've explained the problems. Now we're going to just take the order, set the initial asking price, and move forward with making sure that the seller understands that you're here to get them every single thing that they want. Okay, so as we make this transition, imagine I'm presenting at the table with the clients across from me. Of course, we're still at the table. And once I'm done presenting the powerful program, it sits there next to me so they can see it. And on the last page of our program, we have what's called a validity page. And this could be the size of your company, testimonials, client testimonials. This could be how many homes you've sold. We help you create all of this in our program, but now that's sitting there open. And now I'm just going to take the order. And when I say take the order, we're just going to go through this, what we call seller preferred terms. And it's a key piece to this entire process. Now, if you don't have a validity page, you can create one. We teach you exactly how to do this, but it's such a powerful thing to have that sitting there as you go into this next step. So depending on how you want to structure this, remember, all we're trying to do is show that your program works, your strategy works, and you believe in it working. And therefore they believe. This whole thing is about trust. We've got to ensure they understand our strategy so we can get them what they want, the most money possible in the least amount of time with the least amount of friction. That's exactly what we deliver. So I say, excellent. All I do now is I open up my Padfolio. When I say Padfolio, a little, binder that you keep your things in, remember like an old school trapper keeper, but again, a nice black leather Padfolio where all of my documents and presentation material are stored in. And I go, great. So now we're ready to go. So you don't have to say seller preferred terms explicitly. Instead, I'll say something like, now I want to understand, Susie, exactly what you want to make this the perfect transaction for you. So let's start with setting the initial asking price. Remember, I finished the presentation, and what am I not going to do? That's right. Ask him if I have any questions. We talked about that in detail. So I go, Susie, let's start with your initial asking price. What would you like to set the initial asking price at so we can create a buyer frenzy? Drive up the price and ensure you sell for the most money possible. This strategy needs to be crystal clear. Now, I take you through this step by step, but I wanted to emphasize how critical transitions are. Without understanding transitions now, I'm not talking to her, I'm talking to you, we might face many issues moving forward. So we've got to be really careful on how we go from one document, what we call collateral, to the next without getting grenades or objections. So after giving them our strategy, which is our program and our presentation, we move on to this seller preferred terms. It's a rhythm. I don't mean fast pace. Remember, we match and mimic our clients. If our clients speak slowly, we match that. But by rhythm, I mean we don't take long pauses or shuffle papers, giving them moments to raise objections. Once I get into this seller preferred terms, it's wonderful because we're painting the perfect picture for the client. They should think, oh my gosh, how fantastic is this? I'm going to get everything I want. Now we strive to achieve that, but we must remember reality. Buyers set the market value. Sellers set an initial asking price with our guidance to ensure a smart pricing strategy. Ultimately, the better our strategy, the closer the seller gets to what they want. If we don't execute correctly, the property sits on the market, the seller won't get their desired closing or move-out dates. Now, there are variations depending on state laws regarding earnest money and other specifics. This example is from the Denver metro area. Adapt it to your local market as needed. And again, we're going to provide you this form so you can see how easy it is to do this. Now, this differentiates you from other agents who just dictate terms without asking sellers what they want. Here's how it looks. First, we set the initial asking price. Remember, this is not the final sales price. Always ask the seller first and be prepared with your researched price. If they suggest an unrealistic number, don't react negatively. Simply acknowledge and keep moving. You might revisit it later during your pricing strategy. Next, we're going to go to the next step on the sheet, which is their preferred closing date. So we've established an initial asking price. We're going to establish an initial close date. Now, develop options if needed. Ask clearly and frequently and remind them this is tentative. Nothing is set in stone. So remember when I say that word tentative, we're just going to relax and go, hey, we're just kind of taking a snapshot here. None of this is set in stone. We're just going, hey, We just want to have kind of a clear idea. All of this is fluid. So as we go through that, we've got initial asking price, their preferred moving date. Now we move on to earnest money, depending upon where you're located in the country or the world. Clarify that earnest money is a security deposit, ensuring sellers understand that concept. Typically, it's 1% to 3% of the asking price, but it's all negotiable and all customizable. Explain the implications of the amount to balance attracting buyers and protecting the seller. Inclusions and exclusions, the next check down on your sheet. You want to make sure you walk through every detail. Mounted TVs, appliances, custom drapery, sheds, dog runs, anything buyers might expect or sellers might wish to exclude. Over-detailing here prevents confusion later. You don't want to get under contract and then all of a sudden you have this massive disagreement on who's going to keep the blinds or the wine cooler. All of that is where this comes. And the more we talk about this, you're taking the order and the seller's going, oh, we're already this far down the path. The only thing left to do is sign the agreement. So let's talk about this pricing strategy. Now that I've taken the entire order, let's recap that. Initial asking price, their preferred closing date, earnest money amount, inclusions and exclusions. Now, as we get through this, I go, great, Susie, your initial asking price is $500,000. Excellent. Preferred closing date, March 31st. And you'd like 2 weeks post-closing occupancy. I noted the earnest money, typically 1 to 3%, so $5,000 to $15,000. What's comfortable for you? Perfect. Inclusions. Does the TV stay or go? Pool table, custom curtains, great. Now you hand them this completed seller preferred terms, now you have your completed seller preferred terms. And when I have all of this, I'm going to put this on a beautiful one-pager to present to buyers at our VIP showing window, which we'll talk about. So let's recap this. Use this document effectively, set the initial asking price clearly, discuss tentative details openly, and handle inclusions and exclusions thoroughly. Next, we're going to talk about the critical pricing conversation if their asking price isn't aligned with market realities. Practice this until you're extremely confident. Remember, only 4 documents are essential in our program to master this entire program, and that's why it works so beautifully. All right, up next, now we're going to have a powerful pricing strategy. Let's jump in. Setting an initial asking price. So, all right, now that we've gone through our seller preferred terms and we've taken their order, we're going to make sure that we have a very powerful pricing strategy. So remember, we've now sat down at the kitchen table. We've gone through our most innovative home selling program on earth. We've taken the order of the seller preferred terms. And now the number that they want to sell for, the initial asking price, isn't within the realm of reality. Now take a breath here. This happens all the time. I rarely walk into any situation where the price that's going to cause the home to sell in 24 hours is what the seller thinks the price is. It generally is always higher, and that's okay. They, of course, think their home is always worth more. Every seller does. That's not a problem. We're going to walk them through it. So when we're doing this, we need to convey to the seller now that about our pricing strategy. We're going to talk about how to get people to be in a position to open this up to a large number of buyers so we can create a frenzy for their home. Remember, the only thing that sells a property is price and time. We talked about this in earlier lessons. No matter what, if I price any real estate property on earth low enough, it will sell. If I give any property on earth enough time to sell, 6 months, 2 years, 5 years, 20 years, 50 years, it will normally get to that price. We've all seen those homes that once sold for $30,000, and now the same home in the same lot today now sells for $300,000. Back then in 1950, if you said I wanted $300,000 for my home, everyone would laugh at you. If you just let it sit there for 50 years, you would have probably gotten that number. That's how crazy it really is when you think about it. Understanding this, what we're trying to make sure of when we set a pricing strategy is I'd rather put the seller in a position to turn down offers than not receive any offers at all. Remember, and I say this all the time, I want to put your price at a strategy for you to receive offers and be in a position to turn them down than not receive any offers at all. So to do this, we have to set a price that we truly believe would guarantee the home to sell in 24 hours. Period. End of story. Now, I'm not saying this to them, I'm saying this to you. You have to do your market analysis with clear eyes, not with the thought that you never know, someone may want it at this price. You know, like, ladies and gentlemen, the best agents on earth work in the realm of reality and set the client's expectations. Now, they're not always going to agree with us, but at least when we communicate data correctly, they know why we came up with that certain number. They know that we've explained to them what the facts are using data, right? And then the risk that we're taking going up higher from that data is going to be a big risk that impacts their overall sale. Now, I get this question all the time. Brendan, what if they agree with you on price? Do you even have to show them the comparables? So remember, we haven't even showed comps yet. We just took the order, asked them what they wanted. If they say, well, what do you think and all that? We go, great. Well, just tell me what you want. I'm trying to extract a number at them, no matter how crazy it might seem. And so we're doing all of this. And if they actually agree with you on the price, that's great, right? If they go, what you think and what they think is in a line, it happens very rarely. You go, excellent. Now, all you want to do here is make sure that on your seller for personal, you go, oh my gosh, I put together a very detailed analysis. It's rare that this ever happens. I think we're still a little aggressive, but I think we can move forward with that initial asking price. You don't want to tell them, oh yeah, I was thinking the same thing. They're going to then think it's too low. All of this is, we're basically just trying to have a hypothesis of what we believe setting the price is going to cause buyers to come in the home. If we have an overwhelming result, then we're going to have the prices go up. If we have crickets, the price is going to go down. It's pretty simple. So they say 350. What do? Do you tell them to go up to 400,000 if you think it was 400,000? Now, it depends on the situation, but not really. Within the realm of common sense, right? If they go, hey, yeah, I think we should list it at 350, and you're like, well, there's comps at 400,000 and 500,000. All that's going to happen is we're going to have so much more interest and so many more people creating a buzz and parked cars down the street creating social proof. Everyone's so excited to purchase this house. We're not trying to undervalue the home. We're trying to get everyone into the home and then have the seller in a position to turn down offers if they don't like them and drive the price up. Now, pricing is a technique. It is a strategy. I've seen 1,000 houses that have gone on the market, and it's impossible to pick the exact final sales price. Our goal is to create getting buyers into the home. So now that we've done that, right, we've talked about this, everyone's so excited so once we set the initial asking price, we're going to have so many people excited, everyone's going to want to purchase this house. And that's when it's all going to work really, really well. What doesn't work is this: I set a high price and no one comes, it sits on the market. Then we lower the price. It shows the market that we're desperate. We lower the price again. Eventually, a buyer makes us a lowball offer, and our sellers hate us because they're going, you told me that we were fine listing at 500,000. Now here I am at 420,000, 8 weeks into doing this, having to leave my house, inconvenience with my family, my pets, my dogs. So yeah, Brendan, I don't think I'm ever going to refer you to anyone ever again. That's not what we want to do or where we want to be. It doesn't matter what kind of market you're in. You might go, well, Brendan, this only works if the market's really hot. No, this works in any situation. If the market's really hot, then we're just going to have even crazier demand and crazier prices and more excitement. When the market is not so strong and it's more of a buyer's market, when you do this correctly, you're going to be one of the only properties that is moving and getting activity instead of sitting there with everyone else hoping and praying to find a buyer. Remember, in market conditions, it's always going to be the same thing. If they're selling at this price, then wherever they're moving to and buying, that market is probably similar. You can affect that, that has an effect on that. So that's their decision. Detach yourself from that outcome. You don't control the market. All you're trying to do is put them in a position to maximize results. Now, we're going to move into this. So now we've taken the order. Now let me revisit this pricing strategy. Once they've gone to a higher number, so again, on the initial asking price, they say 600 and you believe the home should be listed at 500,000. Here's your transition after you've taken that order on the seller preferred terms. You go, okay, well, you said the initial asking price, Susie, of 600,000. I really want to discuss the powerful pricing strategy so that we can get you the most money possible. I've put together a detailed market analysis. I'd like to just review some of the comparables with you so that make sure that we have the best pricing strategy moving forward. Would that be fair? Would that be fair? They always say yes. So now they're at 600. You know it needs to be at 500 to make sure that it sells in 24 hours and has this great frenzy. Now the data that we provided earlier in our detailed comparative analysis, now we're going to pull that out and take them through comparables and explain the reality of what this property is worth. Now, remember, your CMA is just there you have so many different tools in there. You have a buyer market value pyramid. You have time on market graph. You have comps. You have pictures. You have a single line stat page. Depending on what you need to show them, will help them understand the pricing. And remember, with pricing, you're always on their side. So if you have a comparable that is similar to their home that just sold for $500,000 2 weeks ago, I'm not going to go, well, this one sold at 5 and you want 6. Are you crazy? No, you're just going to go, hey, this one sold at $500,000. I was curious. Can you explain to me, and so I can explain to the buyers in the market why your home is worth $100,000 more than this one? So I'm always on their side. I just go, here's my concern. Can you help me understand? Would you be so kind to explain to me? The average price per square foot on the single line stat page says that the property in this area are selling at $350 a square foot. If we were to list at $600,000, we would be at $410 a square foot. Can you please explain to me where we're getting that extra $60 in value? And you just constantly just talk through this. And then we go back to reality. And then after we go through the facts, we just simply go, so based on all the data we reviewed, what do you now believe we should set the initial asking price at so that we can have an absolute frenzy on your home so we can drive the price up and get you the most money possible? Okay, this is big piece. So now that we've gone through this and received an agreement on the initial asking price, the next thing we move to is our second piece of paper, our seller estimated net sheet. So let's dive into one of my absolute favorite parts of the entire listing presentation, the seller's estimated net sheet. Woo! Now, hold your applause, because while this might be one of my favorite parts, it's also one of the scariest moments in the listing presentation, especially if you don't handle it strategically. Seriously, I've watched agents literally lose listings at this exact point because they couldn't clearly explain compensation, optional buyer agent compensation, or the potential cost involved in selling. The seller needs to feel completely comfortable moving forward with these numbers. Trust me, you mess this part up and your listing can evaporate faster than ice cream on a hot July day. Fortunately for you, we've tested, redesigned, and perfected this seller estimated net sheet repeatedly in the trenches so you don't have to. Sure, it takes a bit of practice and diligence to get comfortable, but once you've got it down, your business will change dramatically. So, let's have some fun. Securing your value and keeping your sellers happy. The first thing the seller net sheet does beautifully is secure your value. This means your compensation. This sheet clearly outlines your compensation, any optional buyer agent compensation, and most importantly, the seller's estimated net proceeds. Now, again, I'm saying seller's estimated net proceeds. Remember, net is the critical number for every seller. It's the money they walk away with. It's the reason they hired you. At this stage, we're now working with our third piece of collateral, which is sheet number 2 from our magical 4-page package, designed to capture millions of dollars in listing compensation. We've gone through the seller preferred terms, we've set a strategic asking price, and now we're on to the estimated net sheet. And hey, quick disclaimer, everything here is purely for educational purposes only. Always run anything by your legal counsel, attorney, or heck, even if you're priest if you need to, just to keep things good and upright and kosher in your area, all right? So how to use the net sheet. Hint. Number 1, we got to turn it upside down. Picture this. You're sitting across from Susie, your seller, and you've just agreed on a $500,000 initial asking price, down from her optimistic $600,000. Now you'll present this net sheet upside down like a worksheet so it's easy for her to follow along. The beauty here is that the design of this sheet is cute, friendly, and zeroes in on what the seller is walking away with after the dust settles. It provides them a sense of control and helps establish a price designed to sell the home within the first 65 hours. Plus, it sets you up perfectly for temperature checks if any price objections pop up. What I mean by temperature checks is we can check in with our process before we hit the active market if we need to do a price adjustment before we even take it live on the MLS based on our coming soon process, our pre-listing process, so many different ways to structure that. We teach all of this in our Listing Beast program. So, breaking down the numbers and keeping the focus on percentages, not dollars. On this sheet, you start with your commission. Our team, for example, charges 3.5% for our sold in 65 services. That's just for the list side, not for the total listing. Now, you might charge different. You might want to go higher, 4.5%, 5.5%, again, just for the list side. Whatever your value dictates, we've carefully determined our number based on the unique value of our staging consultation, home warranty, our VIP showing process, and among other high-value services that we provide during this white glove experience. Next up, optional buyer agent compensation. Here's the script. All right, Susie, we have our 3.5% for our sold in 65 services. Now, do you want to offer any optional buyer agent compensation? This is the compensation offered to buyer agents bringing buyers to your property. What do you think? And now on the page, it's kind of 3-card money. We have 4 boxes. One of them says 1.5%, 2.5%, 3.5%, or other. Often they'll ask, well, what's the standard? And here's the magic reply. There is no standard or typical number. I've seen everything from 0 to 10%, and it's totally your call. If you offer 0, just know your competition might attract more activity by offering buyer-side compensation. If activity is low, we can revisit the number along with the price. Does that sound fair? Remember, so we have two things we can always adjust: compensation and price, to make sure that we get the most activity. Next on the estimated net sheet, we have what's called the broker service fee. Now, back on the optional buyer compensation, they're gonna pick one. Now, you can give advice, you can guide, but remember, it's all negotiable. But think about the beauty of this sheet. We just blazed past our 3.5, and now their focus is on what to offer in optional buy-side compensation. You've done such a good job at presenting everything. They didn't even squawk at your 3.5%. They didn't even think about it. They're looking at the optional buyer side compensation and going, well, what should we offer? And then you guide them through that. And that's where we want the focus to remain. Once you establish optional buyer compensation, now we move on to our brokerage service fee. So we don't want to skip this. We charge a $5.99 broker service fee for lifetime service and required document storage. Think of this as your peace of mind charge, covering all those post-sale what-ifs, like all of a sudden you get a call and some sort of issue happens after the close for structural cracks they found, documents, the seller disclosure wasn't correct, the microwave broke when the person bought it. All these things that come up, that's what the $5.99 covers. Our agents in our organization, if you have a team, you can either split this with your organization. We'll talk all about how to do this with teams. You can give the whole thing to the team member on your team, or you can keep the entire thing for your organization depending upon what you're offering. I know agents that charge anywhere from $299 to $1,800 for their brokerage service fee on every deal. When you're doing 100, 200, 300, 500 deals, it adds up to a massive amount of revenue. So charge what you feel is right, but never undervalue your ongoing service. Next up on the net sheet, we have title, mortgage balance, and then of course a big box that shows net proceeds. Now, you'll have all of this in our Listing Beast program. Now, these extra cost here, as far as their mortgage balance and the title, if you're in an area that has title, before you get there, make sure you calculated an estimate for title insurance. Remember, this is an estimated net sheet, not an exact to the penny worksheet. All we're doing is getting a basic worksheet to have estimated proceeds that they're going to be walking away with. So remember, estimate, not to the penny. So this section, when we talk about title insurance, we always want to add a little bit of a buffer if you're in an area that has title insurance, because when the home sells for more than the initial asking price, which usually it does, well, then title insurance is going to be more because there's a higher sales price. So we're always just trying to put a buffer, and we usually just add about $500 to that title insurance quote so there's no surprises. And then finally, we get to the star of the show, this big box that says net proceeds. This is what we want everyone to focus on, every seller that we meet with. So as we go through this calculation, we circle this number, I add a smiley face, and I emphasize it. Now, if it's negative, handle it gently. If they're looking at this and going disappointed, so we go, we're going to set the initial asking price at $500,000. Again, I don't say this out loud. Based on the compensation, title insurance, the brokerage service fee, I do a quick calculation on my calculator. You're going to be walking away with, and you said that you owed $200,000. You're going to be walking away with $250,000, and I circle that number, whatever it is, and I make it sound like it's the most exciting thing on earth, because it is. Most homes now have appreciated. Now, if you're in a situation where they just bought it 6 months ago and the market has fallen, then you got to be, you're not going to be like, oh, you're walking with this. You're going to be like, okay, then this is what the net proceeds are after the sale. So all of this is going to be handled depending upon the situation. Okay. So lastly, remind them about prorated taxes, potential HOA dues. Remember, you don't have to do to the penny. You just have to go, well, of course there's going to be prorated taxes. If they're in an HOA, the HOA is going to be prorated based upon the day that we close. We can't predict what that number is. So again, all of this is a conversation. You can get them a to the penny one from your title company, your lawyer, or closer to once you get to the sale. But that's not what we're trying to focus on. We're just going, based on everything we talked about, you're going to be walking away with something close to this estimated net. Now, make sure you have your calculator magic and you've practiced this a bunch. Reason you want to be able to run through this is if you're sitting there doing lengthy math with them and you're popping through all these numbers and you can't figure out how to do this correctly, or you screw up one of these numbers, you're really going to have a problem. Now, there's apps that do these numbers for you. You can have all of this pre-done ahead of time with different scenarios so you know that you're not far off. This takes practice. You win or lose a listing with the estimated net sheets, okay? So here's how to do the math quickly and correctly. For example, with our $500,000 scenario, adding 3.5% and 2.5% for the additional buyer compensation equals 6%. I'm going to multiply the price, add the $599 fee, title policy, and their mortgage balance. Then I'm going to subtract from the initial asking price to clearly present their net proceeds. If you just went, what in the heck are you talking about? Just think about it. I'm going to total up all the percentages, add up all the costs, subtract that against what they owe on the property, and add what they owe on the property, and subtract that from the initial asking price to give them an estimate of what they'd be walking away with. That's all this is when you really slow it down. Add up the cost, subtract the initial asking price, you have net proceeds. So when we're handling low numbers, giving seller options, if the net proceeds disappoint, offer clear options. Number one, we can either increase the property value to try to raise the price. They can wait. You're a consultant. If they're not in a comfortable position to do this, we can wait. But here's my concern. The market could drop it even further. Interest rates could go higher. Offer less on their next purchase. So always remind them that whatever they're purchasing next, that they could offer less on that property, or they need to adjust with what they want to purchase on the next property. Let them choose their path forward. You've now expertly navigated the estimated net sheet. We've secured value, discussed optional buyer compensation, clarified expenses, and established their net proceeds, all without breaking a sweat or losing the listing. Now you're set for our next step, the transition to close, smoothly guiding sellers to sign on the dotted line and hand over those keys. So make sure you practice, and soon you'll handle net sheets with effortless confidence every single time. Chapter 7, the close. We're going to start with what we call the onboarding worksheet. All right, so we've made it. Now we're at the close. This is the moment you've been preparing for, the big finish, the final stretch. Deep breath, here we go. Let's quickly recap how we got here because clarity is your friend. We're sitting at the kitchen table. Remember, we've asked for a glass of water. Classic move, works every time. We've just dazzled them with the most innovative home selling program on the planet. We've meticulously created the seller preferred terms, locking down their desired price, moving date, inclusions, exclusions, everything. Then, if that initial price didn't magically align with reality, surprise, it rarely does, we calmly showed them the data from our CMA, our comparative market analysis, or for the cool kids, an active market analysis. We call it an AMA, where we're comparing against the active data. Now, that's all in our listing break program. That's a whole another detailed depth that we go into. But we've now agreed on the perfect initial asking price, walked them through the seller's estimated net sheets, and we're officially transitioning to the final close. This is it. Your objective now is crystal clear. Transition smoothly to the close, establish the calendar, and onboard them effortlessly into your incredible program. And how do we do this? By mastering the third piece of collateral in your trusty folder, your onboarding worksheet. Quick pop quiz to keep you sharp. What was your first piece of collateral? Yes, that is correct. 1 page, the seller preferred terms. The second? That is correct. Your estimated net sheets. Exactly. We're on to the third now. You guessed it. This single piece of paper, the onboarding worksheet. And what's the final magic document? Well, that's going to be up next. The onboarding agreement. Listen to that. The onboarding agreement. 4 powerful documents designed for maximum impact and maximum profit. Cha-ching. Let's dive deeper now. The onboarding worksheet includes a few essential items you're going to fill out privately. Yes, just for you. Don't ask the seller for their address unless you had some wild Zoom confusion moment, right? You're on Zoom or whichever, you forgot what you're at. You're already at the property. So even though on the form that you can see in our program, you're not going to ask them simple things. We just have them on there as a reminder for you. So, which honestly, again, you got to make sure that we get all of the information. We want to make sure we have the right address. We want to make sure we have all these things, but you don't want to look stupid asking for it to the seller because you're sitting inside their house. So the reason we've got both property address and mailing address listed on the document is simple. Sometimes properties are tenant occupied and the mailing address might be different from the property itself. First up, the first point of contact. Crucial question. Who's your go-to person for all offers? Possibly showing if the initial launch weekend isn't a knockout. We'll dive deeper into that in our Sell It section, and that comes later on. But for now, note the name and keep moving forward. Next, preferred staging consultant date and time. Only bring this up if needed. You're going to talk about scheduling photography. You're setting up a hypothetical calendar. Remember, this onboarding worksheet is all designed to just take the order even further. We're setting up the calendar of events on when we need to go on the market. Now, we provide examples in our program. We have a visual that does all of this. It just simplifies the entire process and makes sure that we don't have any outstanding questions. Do they need a handyman? Do we need to coordinate services for them? All of that is done on this beautiful document. But all this document really does is it just takes the order. As soon as you go, on the first part of the document, it goes, all I say is, so who wants to be the first point of contact when we start receiving amazing offers? As soon as if it's a couple, they start doing this. Or I go, what's the best contact information for when we start receiving amazing offers? Is that the cell phone that I have for you already, Susie? Or do you want me to use a different number? That positioning, they go, oh, we're doing this. He's now just kind of taking the order. You get a yes right here and they continue to move forward, you're golden. Now, all of the other details on here, we've got lockbox, coming soon photo, photography date, when you're going to have Stacy, I'm just using our Stacy, your certified staging consultant come over. All of that you're going to organize and start planning. And remember, all of this is tentative. We just want to take the order and set a vision for how we're going to get this home sold, right? That's the whole thing that we're trying to do here. So we're assuming the close. Now, when we set up our VIP showing calendar, now there's so many nuances to when in our Listing Beast program of how to do this at the highest level. All of this strategy and setup has to be done at a very specific sequence to do this. You're getting a very broad overview in this Audible book that you're hearing here. And if you downloaded the copy with the pieces of collateral, but to truly understand this, that's why we've developed this program, because we want you to make millions of dollars. And you will make millions of dollars. To make millions of dollars, there's a lot of nuance and detail that goes into that. So we take you through every step of that. Now, when you do this process subtly reinforces your relationship. The more information collected, the stronger the mental commitment becomes. They see this worksheet and subconsciously say, heck, I'm listening with Brendan. Use your calendar wisely to set temperature checks, clearly specific dates for calls, not text, and set a professional boundary. So Susie, in our process, we'll strategically have via phone call on this date at this time, right? I try to avoid text relationships to becoming a 24/7 hotline. The fear is when you're in this relationship, if you start talking, I've had agents go, is your preferred form of communication text? They go, oh, I love text. And if you go, great, now they own you. And I really hate to say it that way, but they own your time, because anytime that you're a text away, they saw it, why isn't he responding? They saw it, and why responding? I want to work just like a high-level professional or a doctor. I want to make sure that we understand that this is real time, but there's still boundaries of going, I'm going to do this, and on this date, we'll have a phone call. I'll update you in this time period, and I'm always setting the standard for that communication, okay? Make sure you don't get caught up in the text game. Now, get as much information as possible. Remember your concierge services, your lockbox placement, your coming soon photo. Now, that's it, folks. You're at the finish line of this critical step. Setting up for maximum success and maximum earnings. And now we go into the last simple piece, which is closing like a champion. So we're here, moment of truth. We're at the close. You've done it. You've had this absolutely amazing appointment. You've built incredible rapport. You've showed up with your game face on. Your mindset locked in tighter than a bank vault. You've practically become best friends with the sellers in their living room. You've delivered on every promise toward the home like it was delivered on delivering the promise toward the home like a pro, did a full 360 walkthrough. You came in confidently, sat down at their table, politely asked for a glass of water. Remember, hydration is key, my friends, and flawlessly delivered the most powerful home selling program on the planet. You captured their seller preferred terms. You walked them through the estimated net sheet without breaking a sweat and executed your client's onboarding checklist with surgical precision. Now it's game time. We're about to lock down those signatures and snag the key for the lockbox. Congrats. You've officially reached the final stage, and here's exactly how we're going to onboard them into our legendary Sold in 65 program. Think about that verbiage. onboard, not sign a contract, sign an agreement. We're just onboarding you into our Sold in 65 program. Think about like they're joining a new gym. We're gonna just onboard you into the gym. It's gonna be a great, like your program is a platform that they're being onboarded into. All of this was designed with the correct verbiage to make it as least threatening as possible so that they can feel comfortable and you can deliver the best exceptional experience possible. Okay. So you've now on your document, you've already signed and dated the document yourself. We'll show you an example of this, right? At the bottom of this document, it says Sold in 65 Regional Director. Now, think about this. You've already signed at the bottom of this one-page onboarding agreement. You're the regional director. Think about it. Would a seller rather work with Skippy McGee or the esteemed regional director? Exactly. You've leveled up. Congrats. All of this is mental position. You don't have to do any of this. We explain all of this in our Listing Beast program, but these little nuances are a beautiful way to help position authority in the eyes of the seller. It's designed purely for seller psychology, giving them comfort and reassurance that they're working with someone highly capable and important, which, let's face it, you absolutely are. Now, with onboarding, you're also delivering your bulletproof 100% satisfaction guarantee. All of this happens on this last fourth piece of collateral, piece of paper. This is crucial. You're going to get their signatures, set crystal clear expectations, and outline the immediate next steps. Here's how it looks in real time, play by play. I'm sitting across from Susie and I'm document ready. The document's ready upside down. It's already filled in with all of the things that we're going to show you on how to fill it out. Now, I'm sitting there and I go, excellent, Susie. All we need to do now is onboard you into our Sold in 65 program. Today's date is the 24th. Your address is right here. We agreed on initial asking price of $500,000. I just write that in. Let me just write in that that you want to offer 2.5 for the optional buyer side compensation. Then I continue, Susie. There's 2 paragraphs on this piece of paper. First is our 100% satisfaction guarantee. If at any point you aren't completely thrilled with my service and our exceptional real estate experience, you can cancel anytime. Seriously, anytime, as long as we're not under contract. Once we're under contract, everyone's happy and we're cruising on to closing. Now, Susie, I built my business on integrity. I only want to work with clients excited to work with me. Unlike other agents who lock you into a lengthy contract, 6 months, 12 months, they're doing that because they're going to try to tell you a list price that's unrealistic and then beat you up over and over again on a price reduction, and you can't fire them because you're locked into a contract. That's not what I'm about. I want you to have that exceptional experience. I want to make sure that I get that testimonial from you and another referral from someone else that I gave that same experience, that I can give that same experience to. So the second paragraph simply says you're allowing me to start the Sold in 65 process immediately. Concierge services, staging, all the good stuff. Remember, everything is flexible. If your launch date needs adjusting, no big deal. Now, all I need from you is a signature right here, and I need a key for the lockbox. I put down the pin next to where they need to sign, and I shut up and I stare and I wait for them to sign the document. That's it. 99.9% of the time, this is what you'll hear. Brendan, this is great. Let's do it. They grab the pin, they hand me a key, and we're ready to rock and roll. Boom, mission accomplished. You reply enthusiastically, fantastic, Susie, as you find the key if they don't have one right there. I'll grab a lockbox from my car and I'm excited to get started. But what if they hesitate in that 1% scenario where Susie says, I'm nervous, I want to think about it? Well, here's the magic phrase. Susie, I completely understand, but you do feel confident I can get your home sold, correct? Now I'm staring directly at her, super confident, eye contact unwavering. She goes, well, yeah, I think so. Great. Then let's do the right thing and put me to work today. I put down the pen again, nudge it closer to where it needs to sign, stare at her. That's it. If they're still hesitant, she goes, yeah, I get it, but I don't know. I want to sleep on it tonight. Susie, that's exactly why we offer the 100% satisfaction guarantee. If you're still not, 100% sure, and you want to interview more people, or you want to sleep it on it tonight, and you want to talk to someone else or do anything else, we can move forward today so we have a lot to get done as we went through this entire process. But if you have some concerns, at any time you can tear up this agreement. So no matter what, Susie, you do feel I can sell your home, right? Correct? She already said yes. She already made that commitment. Then let's go ahead and do the right thing and let's put me to work right now. It's so powerful. Use that powerful statement and you will have a lot of success. Now, once signatures are secured, swiftly lock down the property by placing the lockbox and snapping some quick exterior photos for your coming soon for immediate marketing. Be efficient. Your job is now to avoid lingering and further questions. Don't hang around and just start taking bullets. Boom, 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 and I'm out. Final reassurance as you leave. Susie, these initial documents are a mutual agreement. The official state required forms are coming via email shortly for your digital signature. Please review them. I have instructions on them. Call me if you need anything. Thrilled to be working together. Have a great night. And that's it, friends. You've conquered the close. Dun, 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 dun. Congratulations. You've officially nailed the pre-appointment, at the appointment, at the table, the close. You're trained, you're ready, and you're set to become the elite real estate powerhouse you were destined to be. All that's left is practice. Repetition breeds mastery. Get out there, close those deals, and watch your business explode. Chapter 8, Next Steps. Congratulations. Now you have the exact blueprint to dominate listings and consistently make $100,000 a month or more every month if you're ready to put this proven system into action immediately and supercharge your results. All we need to do now is talk. So now that you understand this program, book a call with our team today and let's turn your goals into reality with our Listing Beast program. Go to listingbeast.com and start earning bigger checks, generating more repeat and referral business from your database, and let's 10x your listing leads and have you become the listing beast you were meant to be.